Chapter 1679. Boom. The stone tower collided with the Taiyin divine sword. The whole world seemed to be collapsing. Most of the virtual sky world could feel the terrifying fluctuations of power. Ari Guafu. It was too powerful. Roars came from all the forbidden areas in the virtual sky world. Some terrifying existences were alarmed, but they couldn't leave the forbidden areas. Roar. In the ancient ominous city, the huge figure that had disappeared stood up again. A terrifying aura of death swept through the world. The battle between saints destroyed an area. Even the mysterious existence in the ancient ominous city was watching. Are these two old guys really fighting with their lives on the line? Although Ji Yufei had retreated far enough, the real saint's power still made him feel great pressure. It was as if an ancient sacred mountain was pressing down on him. The little daoist beside Ji Yufei was only at the immortal king level, so he couldn't bear the saint's power at all. If it weren't for Ji Yufei protecting him, he would have died long ago. Even a wisp of saint's power wasn't something cultivators below the great cultivator level could bear. Saints were existences that transcended the world. They had great divine abilities and spells that could destroy the world. Without reaching that realm, it was impossible to know how powerful saints were. Once they became saints, all living beings were like ants. They could kill a large number of them with a wave of their hand. Even Ji Yufei couldn't intervene in a battle of this level unless he used the clone of the sacred body of immortal cultivation that he hadn't used for a long time. However, Ji Yufei knew that if he relied too much on the clone of the sacred body of immortal cultivation, it wouldn't help his cultivation. After all, the clone of the sacred body of immortal cultivation was an external force. Only the power that he had cultivated himself was the foundation. At this time, the battle between the Zhu clan and the Dongfang clan was gradually coming to an end. On the Zhu clan's side, there were 3 strong cultivators who weren't suppressed by the virtual sky world. On the other hand, there were only 2 people from the Dongfang clan who could fight with their full strength. However, the decisive factor was still the white-robed woman from the Huanggu family. The soaring immortal swordsmanship. The soaring immortal swordsmanship. This swordsmanship possessed great power, causing the silver-robed cultivator from the Dongfang family to retreat again and again. Although the members of the Dongfang family who had come this time were all outstanding disciples of the family, Dong Huang was not among them. If Dong Huang was here, perhaps they could turn the tables. However, it was a pity that Dong Huang of the Dongfang family, who could battle the mysterious woman in white, did not come. Dongfang Wu was dead. His forehead was pierced by the mysterious woman's flying immortal sword. This sword destroyed his Niwen palace and destroyed his primordial spirit. 108 swords. You're pretty good to be able to block my 108 swords. However, you won't be able to block my 109 swords. The woman in white's tone was very calm. The flying immortal sword light flew back and entered the woman in white's body. Dongfang Wu, a powerhouse second only to Dong Huang in the Dongfang clan, died just like that. The trip to the virtual sky world was a path of no return for him. Wu is dead. How is that possible? How could she kill cousin Wu? The disciples of the Dongfang family who witnessed this scene were extremely shocked. Dongfang Wu's fighting strength was definitely the strongest among the disciples of the Dongfang family who entered the virtual sky world with ancient half-saint Join. If even he was killed, then the others were even less of a match for the woman in white. The disciples of the Dongfang family in the vicinity immediately fled in all directions. Could it really be her? Ji Yufei had been watching from the sidelines and did not make a move. The swordsmanship displayed by the woman in white reminded him of that person from 100 years ago. That person had a special feeling for him. However, this woman in white was very mysterious. She wore a curtain hat on her head and her face was covered with a white veil. Even Ji Yufei's martial Dao heavens I couldn't see through the white veil on her face. After killing Dongfang Wu, the woman in white didn't stop. She directly attacked the other disciples of the Dongfang family. As the flying immortal sword moved, people constantly fell under her sword. Roar. Thousands of miles away, an angry roar was heard. Then, a water-blue sword light broke through the 18 divine lights of the Great Path and instantly soared thousands of miles, slashing toward the woman in white who was chasing after the disciples of the Dongfang family. A terrifying holy might spread out, and all the creatures in the area trembled. What? The woman in white was shocked. She never thought that ancient half-saint Joanne, who was fighting with Elder Ju Yi, could actually attack her from thousands of miles away. This was the shocking sword light that was unleashed after the great path imprint in the Taiyin divine sword was completely awakened. The sword light was unstoppable, as if it could split the world in half. It was pitilessly terrifying. With the cultivation and strength of the woman in white, it was impossible for her to dodge this sword. Even someone as powerful as an almighty emperor could only wait for death in the face of the ancient sage-to-biz strike. This was the difference between an almighty emperor and a sage. Although the ancient sage-to-be wasn't a true sage, his sword strike was like an attack from a true sage. "You, Elder Ju Yi," roared angrily. He wanted to save the woman in white, but ancient half-saint Joanne attacked him with all his might at this time, making it difficult for him to save her. The woman in white was a genius who had risen in the Ju family of the ancients in the past 100 years. Her flying fairy swordsmanship was already invincible among the younger generation of the Ju family. Even some of the elders of the Ju family of the ancients were no match for the woman in white. If such a disciple with unlimited potential was killed like this, even Elder Ju Yi would probably go crazy. Such a loss would be too great. It was absolutely impossible for the woman in white to withstand this attack from ancient half-saint Joanne. As long as the sword light fell, her body and soul would be destroyed. Elder Ju Yi's eyes were red. He madly urged the stone tower to smash towards ancient half-saint Joanne. He wanted nothing more than to smash her into minced meat. Just as the woman in white closed her eyes and waited for death, a figure instantly appeared in front of her. Buzz! An ancient cauldron rushed out from the top of this person's head, emitting an extremely ancient aura. Chaotic primordial chi lingered on it. Boom! The terrifying water-blue sword light fell and fiercely struck the ancient cauldron. The ancient cauldron did not move at all, but the sword light collapsed. What? Is this the legendary mountain and river cauldron? Even ancient half-saint Joanne and Elder Ju Yi were extremely shocked. No one had expected that someone would suddenly appear and block ancient half-saint Joanne's sword. Strands of primordial chi fell from the ancient cauldron and enveloped the two people below. The pervasive sword chi was completely blocked outside. "It's you." When the water-blue sword light completely dissipated, the woman in white saw the person who had saved her. Who else could it be but Ji Yufei? Chapter 1680. An all-out attack from the ancient half-saint Joanne was no trivial matter. It should be known that the great path brand within the lunar divine sword had been completely awakened. This was equivalent to an ancient saint attacking. Empress Dowager, an ancient saint, was definitely an invincible existence in ancient times. Apart from extreme path supremes and human emperors, no one could suppress such an existence. Everyone thought that the woman in white was dead for sure. However, when the sword light from the lunar divine sword fell, a figure stood in front of the woman in white. An ancient cauldron rushed out from the top of that person's head and shattered the terrifying sword light. It protected the two people below and left them unscathed. This outcome shocked everyone to the extreme. What kind of cauldron was this? It could actually withstand an attack from a saint weapon? Could it be the legendary mountain and river cauldron? Could the essence surrounding the cauldron be the primordial chaos chi from the creation of the world? Seeing the ancient cauldron above Ji Yufei's head, Old Man Joey and the ancient half-saint Joanne were moved. The extreme path saint weapon, the mountain and river cauldron, was something that only existed in myths and legend. The mountain and river cauldron had appeared too long ago. No one knew its origins, but what was certain was that it was a supreme divine weapon refined by an extreme path supremacy. At the woman in white's critical moment, Ji Yufei had acted in time and used the mountain and river cauldron to shatter the sword chi of the lunar divine sword, saving the mysterious woman in white. "Ah, you all right?" Ji Yufei did not know what to say for a moment. Moreover, he was not sure if the woman in white before him was the same person from back then. The woman in white did not speak. She seemed very calm. Rumble, at this moment, a terrifying saint might rapidly approached from afar. Old Man Joey and the ancient half-saint Joeen were rapidly approaching. They wanted to obtain the mountain and river cauldron. There was no doubt that Old Man Joey and the ancient half-saint Joeen only had eyes for the mountain and river cauldron. Go! Jiu Fei waved his right hand and a great force immediately wrapped around the woman in white. The woman in white could not help but fly thousands of miles away. It's you. When Old Man Ju Yi and the 9-yin ancient half-saint arrived and saw the person beneath the mountain and river cauldron, they were extremely shocked. The person who used the supreme artifact to save the woman in white was Jiu Fei. The cauldron of mountain and river was too precious. One must know that the primordial chaos chi could only be formed when the sky was split open. It was the ancestor chi of all things, and everything in the world came from it. The primordial chaos aura was definitely a peerless divine material. Even an extreme Tao sovereign would be envious of such a peerless divine material and would not hesitate to make a move for it. The old man of Ju Yi and the ancient sage-to-be could not sit still at this time. These two old fellows, not only did Jiu Fei not feel nervous or fearful in the slightest when he saw the two ancient half-saints charging over with their fully awakened sacred weapons, his battle intent surged instead. He had already teleported the little Daoist far enough. A battle between martial sages wasn't something that ordinary people could witness. However, even if one could witness a battle between martial sages, there was still the danger of being affected by the battle at any time. The little Daoist was very careful as he retreated far away. Leave the mountain river cauldron behind. The cauldron of mountain and river is mine. Two loud shouts rang out as the old man of Ju Yi and the ancient sage-to-be made a move. They wanted to snatch the cauldron of mountain and river before the other party did. However, they had overlooked Jiu Fei, who was in control of all this. Buzz! Jiu Fei slammed his palm on the bottom of the cauldron of mountain and river, and a rumbling sound rang out. Then, divine patterns of the Great Path appeared on the surface of the cauldron of mountain and river. The divine patterns of the Great Path intertwined on the cauldron of mountain and river, drawing upon the power of the Great Path and forcing the old man of Ju Yi and the ancient sage-to-be to retreat. The stone pagoda in the old man of Ju Yi's hand and the ancient sage-to-be's lunar divine sword were both sent flying. A wave of primordial chaos chi spread out, and both the old man of Ju Yi and the ancient sage-to-be suffered a little. Since you want to fight, then let's fight. Jiu Fei didn't hesitate. Since he had already made a move, all words became incomparably useless at this time. The old man of Ju Yi and the ancient sage-to-be each displayed their supreme divine power and attacked Jiu Fei. Bam! Jiu Fei held the cauldron of mountain and river in his hand and directly smashed it towards the old man of Ju Yi. In front of the cauldron of mountain and river, all power seemed extremely fragile. Even if it didn't display its supreme divine power, it could still smash all weapons except for the supreme divine weapon. The old man of Ju Yi didn't dare to use the stone pagoda to take on the other party's supreme divine weapon. The cauldron of mountain and river came crashing down, and the old man of Ju Yi had no choice but to retreat. If he was hit by the supreme divine weapon, even a peak mighty figure would probably die. Leave the cauldron of mountain and river, and I can spare your life. The ancient sage-to-be's words were full of killing intent. No one would be stupid enough to believe his words. In ancient times, this guy had killed many people. Ha. Jiu Fei laughed. This ancient sage-to-be was too arrogant. It was still unknown who would have the last laugh. You want to kill me? Do you have the ability to do so? Jiu Fei stopped smiling. At the same time, his entire body was filled with mighty essence chi. He held the cauldron of mountain and river in his left hand, and his divine eyes flickered. No one knew what he was thinking. Humph! A supreme divine weapon won't be able to protect you. The ancient sage-to-be was extremely powerful. His first move was a terrifying saint-level sword technique. The lunar divine sword in his hand turned into a bright blue sword light, cutting through the void of heaven and earth. It instantly slashed in front of Jiu Fei. Swoosh! Jiu Fei soared into the sky and avoided the sword. He used the universal void steps and displayed the world's fastest speed. With just one step, he had already appeared above the old man of Ju Yi's head and stomped down on the top of the old man of Ju Yi's head. A great battle broke out. Ji Yufei fought 1 against 2. Because he had the cauldron of mountain and river, the old man of Juyi and the ancient sage-to-be could not suppress him for a while. Kill. Ji Yufei was like a god of war from ancient times who had returned. His entire body was filled with killing intent and endless battle intent. His fists shattered the void as he fought the 2 ancient sage-to-be. He's actually so powerful. The human race's martial body is too powerful. Everyone who saw this scene was stunned. Ji Yufei was challenging the ancient sage-to-be. Moreover, these 2 ancient sage-to-be had divine weapons. Ji Yufei was attacking with all his strength. All the martial way true power in his body was circulating rapidly. Buzz. The cauldron of mountain and river vibrated. This ancient cauldron was already floating above Ji Yufei's head. Streams of primordial chaos chi fell from above, protecting Ji Yufei. In this way, the old man of Juyi and the ancient sage-to-be were in a tragic situation. No matter how they activated the divine weapons in their hands, they could not break through the defense of the cauldron of mountain and river. To a certain extent, Ji Yufei was already in an invincible position. How could they fight? The old man of Juyi and the ancient sage-to-be were already in a difficult position. Chapter 1681. The holy might spread in all directions, intimidating the heavens. More than half of the virtual sky world was affected by this supreme pressure. Countless creatures trembled as if the end of the world had come. If the virtual sky world hadn't been refined by a supreme martial artist, it would have been blown up countless times. Rumble, Old Man Joey and ancient half-saint Nineyin attacked with all their strength. They weren't attacking each other, but attacking Ji Yufei together. No one didn't want to obtain the mountain river cauldron. In order to obtain the mountain river cauldron, Old Man Joey and ancient half-saint Nineyin temporarily put aside their grudges. Everyone retreated far away. Not everyone could withstand the supreme saintly might, and even that mysterious white-robed woman had no choice but to retreat 10,000 miles away. You 2 old fellows are really shameless. The mountain river cauldron floated in the air. Primordial chaos chi fell and blocked all the attacks. Although Old Man Joey and ancient half-saint Nineyin attacked with all their strength, they couldn't break through the mountain river cauldron's automatic defense. A fully awakened holy weapon was nothing in front of the mountain river cauldron. Even if a fully awakened holy weapon could destroy heaven and earth, it couldn't shake a true supreme divine weapon. Although he was under the protection of the mountain river cauldron, Ji Yufei still suffered a significant impact. If his cultivation hadn't broken through to the 6th heaven of Almighty Realm, the mountain river cauldron might have been blown away by these 2 old guys. Rays of divine light rushed out from Ji Yufei's body. That was the martial path true power in his body quickly circulating and overflowing out of his body. A single strand of chi aura was even more terrifying than a true peerless divine weapon. It can actually withstand the attack of a holy weapon. This ancient cauldron is definitely the legendary mountain river cauldron. Old Man Joey and ancient half-saint Nineyin's eyes were red. Existences at their level naturally knew how precious a supreme divine weapon was. It was a unique and powerful divine weapon in the world. Take the mountain river cauldron for example. In the 3 realms and 6 paths, there was only one such ancient cauldron, and the god inside the ancient cauldron was also unique. Every supreme artifact refined by an extreme-grade sovereign was unique. Every extreme-grade sovereign would only refine an extreme-grade divine artifact that was most suitable for them. Although Ji Yufei's mountain and river cauldron had been refined again and the god's will within it was different from before, his current cultivation base and strength were not enough for him to use the mountain and river cauldron to attack his opponents. Otherwise, as long as the mountain and river cauldron unleashed an extreme Dao attack, even if hundreds or thousands of Elder Juyi or ancient half-saint of Nineyin attacked together, they would still be annihilated. Give up. Otherwise, when I awaken the god in the cauldron, none of you will survive. Ji Yufei said. Although he could not use the mountain and river cauldron to attack his opponent at any time, as long as he had enough time to prepare, he could still use the mountain and river cauldron to attack. Young man, hand over the mountain and river cauldron and I can guarantee your life. Elder Juyi did not stop. Instead, he activated the stone pagoda again and again, wanting to break through the defense of the mountain and river cauldron as soon as possible. The mountain and river cauldron floated above Jiu Fei's head. This ancient cauldron had not awakened and was only instinctively defending. It seemed that the power of the sacred weapon was not enough to awaken the god in the mountain and river cauldron. I must get the mountain and river cauldron. The Tai Yin divine sword vibrated and released a terrifying transparent sword wave, shattering the void and splitting the world. It wanted to break through the primordial chaos chi that fell from the mountain and river cauldron. However, the sword light that slashed down was all blocked by the primordial chaos chi. It could not harm Jiu Fei, who was below the ancient cauldron. Such an attack was equivalent to an ancient saint's attack. If it had been anyone else, they would have been killed countless times. Only Jiu Fei could withstand it. In that case, just you wait. With that, Jiu Fei sat down cross-legged and entered the three inner worlds with his divine will. He mobilized the power of the three inner worlds and poured it into the mountain and river cauldron. A steady stream of inner world power was guided out from Jiu Fei's heart, glabella, and dantian. This is, the two ancient half-saints outside sensed the changes in Jiu Fei's body and their expressions became extremely solemn. Could it be that this young man had cultivated three inner worlds? How was this possible? Even the most talented person could not cultivate three inner worlds in his body. Even the legendary extreme supremes, invincible existences in the three realms and six paths, had not opened up three inner worlds in their bodies when they were young. Buzz. Very soon, the mountain and river cauldron floating above Jiu Fei's head began to vibrate. The primordial chaos chi began to change and some of the ancient patterns on the mountain and river cauldron began to light up. What? Both Elder Ju Yi and ancient half-saint Join were extremely shocked. An extremely obscure and powerful aura spread out from the mountain and river cauldron. This was a signal of extreme danger. He can actually, ancient half-saint Join's expression was extremely ugly. The mountain and river cauldron seemed to be recovering, but this process was very slow. However, this legendary extreme divine weapon was really recovering. Bam! The stone tower was sent flying. The divine light emitted by this saint weapon dimmed and countless divine patterns of the great path dissipated in the void. A trace of blood seeped out from the corner of Elder Ju Yi's mouth. The power of the mountain and river cauldron was gradually recovering. Even though this process was very slow, it was not something that a saint weapon could contend with. Buzz. The divine sword of Tai Yin was also sent flying. The divine sword let out a mournful wail and trembled. Even saint weapons had times when they were afraid. The imprint of the great path in the saint weapon felt threatened. What should we do? At this time, the two ancient half-saints knew that the situation was serious. Once the mountain and river cauldron recovered, even if it was not completely recovered, it could still kill them countless times. Even a wisp of the power of the extreme path could wipe out an area and cause heaven and earth to collapse. Let's go. Elder Ju Yi was the first to retreat. He recalled the stone tower and used it to protect himself. Then, he turned into a ray of divine light and rushed into the distance. At this time, he no longer doubted Jiu Fei's ability. This guy named Jiu Fei was definitely a super monster. As long as he was given enough time, he could even revive an extreme divine weapon. In particular, ancient half-saint Join. The Dongfang family and Jiu Fei were mortal enemies. Jiu Fei could actually use an extreme divine weapon. This was definitely a disaster for the Dongfang family. They should not have offended such a person in the first place. However, it was too late now. Everything could not go back to the past. Ancient half-saint Join had no doubt that once the mountain and river cauldron recovered, Jiu Fei would definitely be the first to attack him. Buzz. The divine sword of Tai Yin flew back. Ancient half-saint Join and the sword merged, turning into a dazzling sword light that soared into the sky and rushed toward the entrance of the virtual sky world. The change of the mountain and river cauldron directly scared away the two ancient half-saints. Chapter 1682. As a last resort, Jiu Fei had to use the power of his three inner worlds to revive the mountain and river cauldron. The price of doing so was very high, and the spiritual aura in his three inner worlds would rapidly decrease. Alice, Alice, this would affect the normal operation of his inner worlds. Unless he had no other choice, Jiu Fei wouldn't use this method. However, just as Jiu Fei mobilized the power of his 3 inner worlds to gradually revive the mountain and river cauldron, Old Man Zhouyi and ancient semi-holy Join actually ran away. These 2 cowardly old guys. Seeing this, Jiu Fei couldn't help but curse inwardly. No wonder. Who wanted to stand and wait for death? Once the mountain and river cauldron revived, they would definitely die even if they had holy weapons. No one wanted to throw away their lives. Even ants wanted to live, especially ancient semi-saints like Old Man Zhouyi and ancient semi-holy Join who had lived for countless years. Such existences would cherish their lives even more. This is outrageous. At this time, Jiu Fei found that the speed at which the mountain and river cauldron devoured the spiritual aura of his 3 inner worlds gradually increased, and a huge amount of spiritual aura entered the mountain and river cauldron. It was as if a sleeping supreme being of the extreme path was gradually waking up, and a wisp of aura of the extreme path that made all living beings tremble began to appear in the virtual sky world. It's really revived. Old Man Zhouyi, who had already fled into the distance, was extremely shocked. That was the aura of the extreme path. There was no mistaking it. He had felt this kind of aura before. Old Man Zhouyi didn't dare to stop and directly rushed forward. He wanted to stay far away from the area where Jiu Fei was. No one could withstand the attack of a holy tool of the extreme path. Even if a real saint came, the result would be the same. The result wouldn't change. All the living beings in the entire virtual sky world sensed this aura of the extreme path, and even the several forbidden areas in the virtual sky world calmed down. Roar! Jiu Fei roared. Endless spiritual essence surged out of his body and entered the ancient cauldron above his head. The sleeping god in the ancient cauldron began to wake up. Those 2 old guys ran really fast. At this moment, the old man of Ju Yi and the ancient half-saint of Join were nowhere to be found. But now, Jiu Fei had awakened a trace of the power of the extreme Tao in the ancient cauldron. The deity within the mountain and river cauldron had not completely awakened, but this was enough. Looks like that's the only way, Jiu Fei muttered to himself. He had lost his target, but at this point, he had no choice but to use the mountain and river cauldron to attack. Bam! The mountain and river cauldron vibrated, and a stream of primordial chaos chi turned into a beam of primordial chaos divine light, which shot out from the mountain and river cauldron. It instantly crossed thousands of miles and entered the depths of the desolate battlefield. This was the might of the extreme path. Although it was only a wisp of the extreme path's power, it was enough to destroy any existence below the extreme path. Although the ancient desolate battlefield was terrifying, it was still struck into the deepest part of the ancient desolate battlefield by this extreme divine might. The great destruction had taken place there, and the terrifying fluctuations were sensed by all living creatures in the virtual sky world. What's he doing? The people around didn't know why Jiu Fei attacked the ancient desolate battlefield, especially Old Man Zhouyi. Jiu Fei's attack just now was definitely enough to blast him into pieces. Buzz! Right at this moment, a deafening sound came from the depths of the ancient desolate battlefield. Then, a tyrannical and terrifying aura spread out from the depths of the ancient desolate battlefield. What? This tyrannical aura instantly spread throughout the entire virtual sky world, causing all living creatures to tremble. This was the divine might of the extreme path. The ancient desolate battlefield actually emitted the divine might of the extreme path. How was this possible? Could it be that there was a divine weapon of the extreme path left behind by a supreme of the extreme path in the ancient desolate battlefield? In today's great world, not to mention legendary existences like the supreme of the extreme path, even saints had already become extinct. Logically speaking, powerful saints had long surpassed heaven and earth and were no longer part of the 5 elements. They could live as long as heaven and earth, so they shouldn't have died. In the distant past era, an unimaginable great change must have taken place, which was why all the saints disappeared. No one knew what terrible thing had happened back then, but some people already vaguely felt that this matter must have something to do with the ancient demons. At this moment, The people near the ancient desolate battlefield could see a huge dragon rushing out from the depths of the ancient desolate battlefield and leaping into the sky. This is an extremely tyrannical aura spread out from the dragon, causing all living beings within a radius of 100,000 kilometers to prostrate themselves on the ground in fear. Even Old Man Joey had no choice but to protect himself with the stone tower to resist this aura. The others couldn't withstand this kind of aura at all. They all either lay on the ground or knelt on the ground. Even the white-clothed woman who killed Dongfang Wu was trembling all over, almost unable to stand. Swoosh! At this moment, a divine light rushed out from Ji Yufei's body. An equally tyrannical wave spread out from that divine light, shocking the surroundings. The divine light wrapped around half of the broken saber. A dragon's roar seemed to resound between heaven and earth. Then, the half of the broken saber that rushed out from Ji Yufei's body also turned into the shadow of a dragon and rushed towards the huge dragon in the sky. Auras of the same origin. How is this possible? This time, even Old Man Joey was dumbfounded. How could there be two identical divine weapons of the Great Path in this world? At the exit of the virtual sky world, the ancient half-saint of Nine Yin suddenly turned around and looked in the direction of the aura of the Great Path. His face was full of shock. Clang! The two huge dragons collided with each other high up in the sky, creating a metallic clang that resounded throughout the entire virtual sky world. In an instant, the tyrannical aura between heaven and earth became more than 10 times stronger in an instant. Bam! The white-clothed woman finally couldn't bear this pressure and knelt down. Even Old Man Joey, who was protected by the holy weapon, trembled. The mark of the Great Path in the stone tower seemed to sense danger and actually showed signs of fear. The stone tower trembled gently, like a prey that was being stared at by a ferocious beast. In front of a divine weapon of the Great Path, a holy weapon was like a newborn baby. How could a newborn baby be a match for a middle-aged man? They finally fused. When Ji Yufei saw this, he couldn't help but be surprised and delighted. The fusion of the peerless ominous saber was his purpose for entering the virtual sky world. After the ominous saber and ominous saber fused, they would be perfect. Rumble, the two huge dragons kept entangling in the sky, emitting a terrifying wave that shook the heavens. The aura of the Great Path terrified the hundreds of millions of creatures in the entire virtual sky world. Each of the two halves of the ominous saber had an incomplete deity. At this time, the deity of the peerless ominous saber was fusing. The fusion of deities required a process. At this time, the entire virtual sky world was silent. Even the terrifying existences in the ancient ominous city had settled down, and the several restricted areas were rarely peaceful. Chapter 1683. Two huge dragons soared and danced in the sky. It was a vision formed by two parts of the peerless ominous sabers. They emitted a terrifying aura that could dominate the world and intimidate the world. The two parts of the peerless ominous sabers met, and the incomplete extreme ominous sabers began to reassemble. The incomplete divine power contained in the ominous sabers was fusing, and countless extreme Tao patterns appeared around the two huge dragons. The weather between heaven and earth changed color, and the sun and moon lost their light. Terrifying lightning flashed from time to time, tearing the void between heaven and earth. No one dared to approach, they were all extremely shocked. The extreme divine weapon of the Great Path has appeared. Old Man Joey was extremely excited, but he couldn't do anything. Under the supreme divine might of the extreme Great Path, even a real saint had to bow his head. Moreover, Old Man Joey was not a saint. Rumble, it was as if two real ancient dragons were colliding. The whole world was shaking. Countless extreme Tao patterns were vanishing, and the two parts of the peerless ominous sabers were connected. However, it was difficult for this extreme divine weapon of the Great Path to recover in a short time. On the ground, an ancient cauldron floated on a mountain peak, blocking all the mighty divine might of the Great Path from the sky. Ji Yufei stared at the changes in the sky. The vision produced by the extreme divine weapon of the Great Path was so vast that all the powerful existences in the virtual sky world lost their voices. The terrifying existences in the ominous city also fell completely silent. Groups of ancient corpse soldiers had disappeared, and the terrifying aura of death had completely vanished. The extreme divine might shocked the whole world, and no one dared to come out at this time. Sensing the changes in the ominous city, Jiu Fei couldn't help but feel excited. At this time, all the living beings in the virtual sky world were lying on the ground, trembling in fear. No one could stand up at this time, not even old man Joey. At the exit of the virtual sky world, ancient semi-saint Joeen found it difficult to move his feet. The extreme Tao's divine might descended from the sky, making him feel as if 100,000 mountains were pressing down on him. He almost couldn't straighten his back. At this time, perhaps only Jiu Fei could walk freely in the entire virtual sky world. Let's go in and have a look. Jiu Fei stood up from the mountain peak. With the mountain and river cauldron on his head, he walked down the mountain. At this time, it was difficult for him to fly in the air. However, Jiu Fei's physique was incomparably strong. Even though his martial Tao true force was suppressed, his martial body was still as strong as ever. With a single step, his entire being transformed into an afterimage, appearing in the distance. Very quickly, he arrived near the Millennium Ominous City. However, this ominous city was floating in the air. It was difficult for him to fly, so it would be difficult to enter the ominous city. The ground within 1,000 miles of the ancient ominous city had sunk so deep that the bottom couldn't be seen. Jiu Fei came to the side of this huge pit and couldn't help but frown. The place where he was standing was definitely more than 400 miles away from the eternal ominous city, if not 500 miles. Such a distance, of course, was not difficult for him under normal circumstances. But now, the extreme Tao's divine might was vast and mighty in the 9 heavens and 10 earths, intimidating all directions. No one could fly in the sky under this kind of divine might. Even if Jiu Fei had the cauldron of mountain and river, it was no exception. Jumping 500 miles, with Jiu Fei's current cultivation and capabilities, he could do it. But the problem was that he couldn't do it now. He could only rely on the power of his martial body. Even though the martial body was powerful, jumping 500 miles in one go, Jiu Fei really wasn't confident. He looked around and saw a huge rock not far from him. It was a rock with a diameter of a few meters. He had an idea and walked over. The rock that was close to 5,000 pounds was lifted up by Jiu Fei with one hand. He walked to the edge of the crater and smashed the boulder with one hand. Then, his body sank and he stomped on the ground with both feet. Bang! The ground beneath Jiu Fei's feet caved in. His entire being shot up into the sky and leaped a few hundred miles, catching up to the rock that he threw earlier. He stepped on the rock and his divine body once again soared into the sky. Like a giant bird, he flew across hundreds of miles and landed in the ancient city. Buzz! The moment he entered the ancient city, the mountain and river cauldron floating above Jiu Fei's head suddenly let out a buzzing sound, which made Jiu Fei feel a little uneasy. The street was quiet and there wasn't even a shadow. The ancient corpse soldiers that appeared before were nowhere to be seen. A skull was rolling on the ground. Seeing this, Jiu Fei couldn't help but be cautious. This was an ancient city that even a fully awakened saint weapon couldn't break. Nobody knew what terrifying existences were in the depths of this city. Occasionally, there would be flashes of light from treasures in the city. There must be treasures in this ancient city. This wasn't the first time Jiu Fei had entered this ancient city. The last time he came here, he obtained the mountain and river cauldron. The appearance of the mountain and river cauldron changed his life. He was looking forward to seeing what other treasures there were in this ancient city. As soon as he entered the ancient city, Jiu Fei immediately sensed that the extreme divine might descending from the sky had weakened significantly, allowing him to feel a lot more relaxed. Bang! Jiu Fei tried to throw a punch. A layer of earth chi rushed out from his fist, causing the void to tremble. I can use true power of the martial way. Jiu Fei was surprised and happy. In this ancient city, there were dangers everywhere. If he could recover his strength, he would have more capital to protect his life. Even under the intimidation of the extreme Tao's aura, there was still a sinister and terrifying aura coming from the depths of this ancient city. This place was really not ordinary. Inside the extreme Tao divine city, there was a terrifying force. Shua. Ji Fei flipped his right hand and a long sword appeared in his hand. This was the divine sword that he had refined himself, the 9 heaven stars sword. This divine sword had been refined by him using a special method, and the water chestnut had been polished off. The divine sword became simple and unadorned. The 9 ancient words that were imprinted on the sword body had Tao rhymes circling around it. As a martial artist, there was no need to refine a divine weapon. One must know that a martial artist's martial body was already the best divine weapon for a martial artist. A martial body of great success could directly clash with a divine weapon that was refined by a peak great saint and could shatter an ordinary divine weapon. The indestructible martial body was even more powerful. The strength of his physique had reached the level of being indestructible. With a raise of his hand, he could shatter a peak great saint's divine weapon. Even a quasi-supreme divine weapon would not be able to harm the indestructible martial body in the slightest. With such a powerful martial body, why would he need a divine weapon? However, the path that Ji Fei had taken was different from ordinary martial artists. He had accidentally obtained a primordial spirit and could cultivate both immortal and martial arts. However, he still focused on the martial way and the immortal way as a supplement. Since he had an immortal divine material, it would be a pity if he did not refine an immortal divine weapon. Just as Ji Fei was walking towards the depths of the ancient city, a sigh suddenly came from a corner of the ancient city without any warning. Chapter 1684. There was no sound in the ancient city, as if even the air was still. In the dark corners of the city, skeletons could be seen scattered on the ground. Countless ancient corpse soldiers were nowhere to be seen, as if they had never appeared. This ancient city seemed to be deserted, like an empty city. However, Ji Fei knew that this ancient city was definitely not empty. Buzz. The mountain and river cauldron floated above Ji Fei's head, gently vibrating. Ji Fei was not in a hurry. He carefully walked on the street with the 9th heaven star's sword in his hand. Above the sky, the aura of the extreme path was vast and mighty. The peerless ominous saber was still evolving. The divinity inside the saber was fusing and the extreme path Tao patterns were lingering. In the end, countless extreme path Tao patterns formed a huge cocoon, wrapping the 2 halves of the peerless ominous saber inside. The peerless ominous saber was metamorphosing, about to break out of the cocoon and be reborn. Countless extreme path Tao patterns intertwined. A wave of extreme path power that could make even the heavens tremble was being nurtured inside. The domineering aura spread in all directions. The entire virtual sky world was silent. All creatures were trembling. This wave of extreme path divine power even spread from the spatial passage to the outside world. Roar. A terrifying roar came from the 100,000 mountains, as if a terrifying existence was alarmed by this wave of extreme path divine power. Although it was only a wisp of aura, it made the 100,000 mountains boil. What's going on? Is there a divine weapon of extreme path? All the cultivators sensed a supreme and sacred aura coming from the 100,000 mountains, and all of them were shocked to the extreme. The birth of a divine weapon of extreme path was a big event. At this time, the Zhu clan of the remote antiquity had already sealed the spatial passage to the virtual sky world. People outside could enter and people inside could come out at any time. With the appearance of the aura, the other cultivators from the southern wilderness who couldn't find the exact location finally sensed the exact location of the virtual sky world's entrance. Boom! The void shook. A ball of fire wrapped around a mountain-sized divine phoenix swept across the sky. The terrifying heat descended from the sky, causing all the plants in the vicinity to wither rapidly. Roar. From another direction, a dragon roar could be heard. A huge dragon soared through the clouds and flew towards the broken sky valley at high speed. A terrifying draconic aura could be felt in the surroundings. The experts of the southern wasteland 100 races had arrived. The arrival of these peerless experts increased the pressure on the Zhu clan. These people were all existences that had lived for countless years. Their cultivation was so strong that it could cause others to feel despair. The 100 races of the southern wasteland were a powerful force that could contend against the ancient desolate era's forces. The depth of their foundation was probably something that no ancient desolate era's forces could compare to. After all, the 4 great ancient clans of the southern wasteland were all inheritances of extreme divine beasts. If the 4 great ancient clans were to join forces, it would be sufficient to sweep through the entire mortal dimension. A great war inevitably broke out. The Jew clan of the remote antiquity wouldn't let people from other forces enter the virtual sky world so easily. Rumble, in the sky above the sky-splitting valley, flames covered the entire sky. The divine phoenix was fighting with a middle-aged daoist, causing the void to shatter and collapse. It was incomparably terrifying. Meanwhile, in another direction, a great battle erupted as well. A great dragon tore apart an immortal Tao Supreme being. The scene was incomparably bloody. After searching for hundreds of years, the entrance to the virtual sky world is actually here. On the peak of a mountain thousands of miles away from the sky-splitting valley, a blood-haired youth muttered to himself. Not only did he have long blood-red hair, but even his pupils were also blood-red. Devil Monarch of 6 Paths, you actually dared to come here. All of a sudden, a divine light rushed over from afar and landed on a mountain opposite the blood-haired youth. Cold words echoed in the mountains. The person who came was a middle-aged man wearing a golden dragon robe. He wasn't some human emperor. His demonic aura soared into the sky, and the shadow of a dragon could be faintly seen on his body. This was a terrifying great demon that could transform into a human. An imperial aura emanated from the middle-aged man's body. Demon Lord Huanglong, after seeing the middle-aged man, the blood-haired youth's blood-red pupils couldn't help but contract. This person was actually his old enemy. For hundreds of years, the demon and the demon had fought countless times, but the 2 great experts couldn't really kill each other. Although there were victories and defeats, they couldn't truly decide life and death. I'm afraid this is the end of your reign as the demon lord of the human realm. Devil Monarch of 6 Paths sneered. The return of the demon lord of the wilderness was a huge blow to demon lord Huanglong. After all, the demon lord of the wilderness was a demonic quasi-saint. What's the point of having an empty reputation? Power is the most important thing, said demon lord Huanglong. The 2 great experts didn't say much. Demon Monarch of 6 Paths stretched out his hand, and a monstrous amount of demonic chi rushed out of his hand. The demonic chi condensed into a giant hand, which grabbed at the demon lord Yellow Dragon. A powerful demonic aura spread out. Azure Dragon strikes the sky. Demon Lord Huanglong immediately used a killing move. A huge shadow of a dragon rushed out from his body and collided with Demon Monarch of 6 Paths' demonic hand. The force of this collision caused the whole world to move, as if the whole world was going to suppress Demon Monarch of 6 Paths. It was extremely terrifying. Boom! The shadow of the dragon and the huge hand collided. Demon Monarch of 6 Paths' huge hand was instantly destroyed. Demon Lord Huanglong's attack had caused the whole world to move. The shadow of the dragon rushed towards Demon Monarch of 6 Paths. Its powerful force caused the whole world to tremble. Good! Demon Monarch of 6 Paths shouted. He soared into the sky and dodged the dragon. Then, he attacked Demon Lord Huanglong. A blood-red light rushed out from his body and slashed at Demon Lord Huanglong. Bang! With a muffled sound, Demon Lord Huanglong's dragon collided with Demon Monarch of 6 Paths' blood-red demonic light. The dragon dissipated, and the blood-red demonic light also collapsed in the void. Demon Lord Huanglong rushed forward and started a life-and-death battle with Demon Monarch of 6 Paths. While the experts were fighting in the innumerable huge mountains, inside the virtual sky world, in the ancient ominous city, Ji Yufei was also in danger. Just when Ji Yufei was about to reach the center of the ancient city, the window of a building next to the street suddenly flew out with a bang. A terrifying figure appeared in the window, and a gloomy aura spread out from the window. Ji Yufei was shocked. The evil people in the city finally couldn't hold back anymore. Whoosh! A black figure jumped out of the window and directly pounced on Ji Yufei, who was on the street. A rotten smell assaulted Ji Yufei's nostrils. Ji Yufei almost vomited. The smell was too unpleasant. Chapter 1685. When Ji Yufei approached the center of the ancient city, the evil in the city finally appeared. A black shadow rushed out from a window on the side of the street. A putrid stench that made people want to puke immediately filled the air. When Jiu Fei saw this evil creature, he couldn't help but feel his scalp go numb. This was a rotten corpse. To be precise, it was a rotten corpse that could attack people. Bang! Jiu Fei directly punched out, and the rotten corpse that was surrounded by a rancid smell was immediately smashed into more than a dozen pieces by his fist force, exploding in the air. The stinking black blood splattered in all directions. The mountain and river cauldron above Jiu Fei's head vibrated, blocking all the black blood outside. It couldn't get close to him at all. Drops of black blood dripped onto the ground, and black gas rose from the ground. The rotten blood of the rotten corpse actually had a terrifying corrosive power, and countless black spots appeared on the ground. When Jiu Fei saw this scene, he couldn't help but frown. After dealing with this rotten corpse, he continued forward. With the mountain and river cauldron protecting him, he could go anywhere. He had no scruples. Even if he encountered a terrifying existence in the city, he could escape unscathed. At this time, in the sky above, the extreme ominous saber reassembled and displayed all kinds of strange phenomena. Around the giant cocoon that was formed by countless extreme Tao patterns, faint and illusory scenes constantly appeared. Someone noticed these strange phenomena. In the blurry images, there seemed to be a figure holding a large saber and fighting with some unknown creatures. Rumble, the world shook, and many figures appeared around the extreme Tao cocoon. The figure holding the large saber was fighting with a demonic figure, and there was a mighty extreme Tao aura. Suddenly, the scenes changed, and a blood-red land appeared. A figure holding a large saber stood in the middle of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood, and in his left hand was the head of a great demon. Is this the reappearance of what the extreme Tao divine saber and its master experienced? 10,000 miles away, under the protection of the stone pagoda, Zhouyi old man saw this scene with his divine eyes. He was shocked to the extreme. The peerless ominous saber had a great origin. This ominous saber was most likely an extreme ominous saber refined by that legendary person. Within the giant cocoon formed by the interweaving Tao patterns of the extreme path, there seemed to be a life being nurtured, a life of the extreme path. The aura of the extreme path gradually became stronger. The billions of creatures in the virtual sky world all trembled in fear. Even though this sort of extreme godly might was strong, it could only intimidate all living beings in the world. One must know that the peerless ominous saber had reformed itself in the sky. As long as he didn't get close to the peerless ominous saber, he wouldn't be in any danger. But even so, all the creatures in the virtual sky world were kneeling on the ground, trembling all over as they kowtowed to the huge cocoon in the sky. The appearance of the fluctuation of the extreme path also affected the outside world. The spatial passage connecting the virtual sky world and the outside world became unstable. At this time, Sky-Splitting Valley was already empty. Not a single person could be seen. The supreme aura of the Great Path seeped out from the spatial passage. No one dared to approach it. Even those who were 10,000 miles away could feel the boundless pressure. The battle in the 100,000 mountains continued. A great ancestor of the Vermilion Bird clan came out of seclusion and fought with a peerless figure from the Dew clan of the ancients. A supreme elder of the Azure Dragon clan came out of seclusion. The aura of a true dragon filled the world. This old dragon was fighting with an elder of the Dongfang clan. The appearance of the divine weapon of the extreme path made everyone's eyes red. It was a supreme divine weapon that could make all the cultivators in the world of cultivation go crazy. The most intense battle was the one between Demon Monarch of Six Paths and Demon Lord Huanglong. Azure Dragon strikes the sky. Demon Lord Huanglong displayed the secret technique of the Dragon Clan. He turned into an Azure Dragon and borrowed the momentum of the whole world to launch a powerful attack on Demon Monarch of Six Paths. Under this attack, the entire void was annihilated. This attack sent Demon Monarch of Six Paths into the chaos. Buzz. Blood-colored demonic light rushed out of the chaos. Demon Monarch of Six Paths used the demonic saber in his hand to break through the chaos and rushed out. His whole body was surging with demonic aura. Celestial demon slaughtering saint. Demon Monarch of Six Paths roared. The blood-colored demonic saber in his hand shot out billions of demonic lights. The whole world was illuminated by the blood-colored demonic light. Whoosh! The blade light of the celestial demon slaughtering saint rushed out from the celestial demon saber. An extremely terrifying and powerful demonic energy suddenly burst out. Demonic runes could be vaguely seen in the blood-colored saber light. Demon Lord Huang Long knew how powerful it was. He soared into the sky and dodged the attack. The celestial demon blood saber was Demon Monarch of Six Paths' trump card. He would never use it unless he had no other choice. Demon Monarch of Six Paths was going to risk his life. Was he really going to fight to the death with Demon Lord Huang Long here and now? Large areas of the mountains were crushed by the power of the two experts. This was the power of a peak expert. The aura of a peak expert could shock the whole area. In the past 100 years, people like Demon Lord Huang Long and Demon Monarch of Six Paths cultivation levels had improved by leaps and bounds. They were no worse than some heaven-defying monsters. The arrival of the Great Era in the human world caused the emergence of countless experts in the cultivation world in just 100 years. Some people said that this was a great era where people could become saints, and there were even supreme beings. The growing prosperity of the cultivation world was the best proof. Demon Lord Huang Long and Demon Monarch of Six Paths were only one step away from becoming half-saints. In the end, the two experts fought their way into the depths of the innumerable mountains. No one knew the result of the battle because everyone's attention was attracted by the virtual sky world. At this time, in the virtual sky world, in the ominous city of eternity, Ji Yufei was fighting against the evil in the city. Roar! A 3-meter-tall golden divine ape rushed out from the depths of the ancient city, roaring as it pounced towards Ji Yufei. The divine ape's entire body shone with a dazzling golden light, as if it was made of pure gold. Golden spiritual ape. When Ji Yufei saw this divine ape, he couldn't help but be shocked. He moved his feet and instantly retreated hundreds of meters away. He saw a small hole between the divine ape's eyebrows. Golden divine blood was flowing out of the small hole, and the blood seemed to have not dried yet. There's no fluctuation of life. It's a corpse. Ji Yufei was incomparably shocked. A golden spirit ape had died here. It seemed to have been killed by a finger. The small hole on its forehead should have been the result of someone piercing through the golden spirit ape's Niwen palace. The golden spiritual ape was extremely ferocious, and its movements were also very fast. When it moved, it was like a golden bolt of lightning that swept across the void in an instant. However, the eyes of this golden spiritual ape were grey and lifeless. Bang! Ji Yufei punched, wanting to smash the golden spiritual ape into pieces. Unexpectedly, his punch landed on the golden spiritual ape's body, but it couldn't hurt it at all. Ji Yufei's ferocious fist force only sent the golden spirit ape flying. The golden spirit ape once again pounced on him, still as fierce as ever. The golden spiritual ape bloodline was sparse. The golden spiritual ape clan in the human realm had long been extinct. Only the branch in the heaven realm stubbornly survived. Could this golden spiritual ape be Yuan Hong's ancestor? Ji Yufei thought of Yuan Hong in the heaven realm. He didn't know how Yuan Hong was now. There was an ambitious Eastern Emperor Xian in the eastern land of the heaven realm. Emperor Xian of the eastern land had a great enmity with Ji Yufei for killing his son and was also a great enemy of the golden spiritual ape bloodline. Because two tigers couldn't live on the same mountain, there could only be one ruler in the eastern land of the heaven realm. Could it be that the golden spiritual ape of the human realm had fallen here? Ji Yufei couldn't help but be shocked. One had to know that this golden spiritual ape had directly blocked his punch with its body and was unharmed. Such a physique was probably comparable to the indestructible martial body. Roar! The golden spiritual ape roared wildly. It was once again sent flying by Ji Yufei, but just like before, Ji Yufei's attack couldn't do anything to this divine ape. Even though it had fallen, it still had a strong body. It was controlled by the evil in the ancient city and became a terrifying evil corpse, guarding this ancient city. I'm sorry. Ji Yufei put away the 9 heaven stars sword in his hand and took out the purple gold divine sword. This was an extreme sword weapon. Even though it couldn't display its extreme divine power, There weren't many things in the world that could block the purple gold divine sword. The golden spiritual ape rushed over again. Its body was full of golden essence. Even though it had died countless years ago, the essence of this golden spiritual ape had not been lost. It had to be said that this physical body was really powerful. It was hard to imagine how high this golden spiritual ape's cultivation had reached when it was alive. Swoosh! A sword shadow flashed in an instant. Jiu Fei and the golden spiritual ape passed by each other. Then, the golden spiritual ape stopped moving and stood there motionlessly. There was silence all around. Jiu Fei and the golden spiritual ape just stood there. Whoosh! A breeze blew and a line of golden blood seeped out of the golden spiritual ape's neck. Then, the golden spiritual ape's head fell and rolled to the side of the street. Bang! The golden spiritual ape's body fell and the ground shook. Even the golden spiritual ape's powerful physical body couldn't withstand the purple gold divine sword's blade. The murderous aura on the purple gold divine sword directly destroyed the divine sense in the golden spiritual ape's body. After Jiu Fei killed the golden spiritual ape, heavy footsteps suddenly sounded on the street in front of him. It wasn't the footsteps of a single person. The footsteps got closer and closer. Soon, Jiu Fei saw a team of ancient corpse soldiers walking towards him. There were more than a dozen ancient corpse soldiers in this team, and each of them had experienced hundreds of battles. Swoosh! Before the ancient corpse soldiers came close, they had already attacked Jiu Fei. The ancient corpse soldiers raised the bronze spears in their hands and pierced towards Jiu Fei. Bang! More than a dozen divine lights gathered together and erupted with a shocking power. Even Jiu Fei couldn't help but be secretly shocked when he faced such an attack. He was shaken back a few steps. This was something that had never happened before. He was protected by the mountain and river cauldron. How was this possible? He couldn't believe it, but it really happened. Chapter 1686. More than a dozen lifeless ancient corpse soldiers attacked at the same time, displaying incredible combat power. Divine runes of the Great Path could be faintly seen on the bronze spears. Bang! 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 The sound of heavy footsteps rang out. A small group of ancient corpse soldiers marched in an orderly manner towards Jiu Fei. A powerful aura of death assaulted his senses. These ancient corpse soldiers had fallen for countless years, but each of them was like an unfalling ancient monument, advancing forward with incomparable terror. What kind of power made these ancient corpse soldiers immortal? Jiu Fei was shocked. This ancient city was absolutely hiding a huge secret. There were immortal ancient corpse soldiers guarding it, and countless powerful existences had turned into evil creatures. Could it be that all the experts who had fallen in the ancient city had turned into evil creatures? Roar! Jiu Fei roared, then took a step forward and punched with all his might. A dazzling golden light rushed out from his fist. This was the chi aura formed by the martial true power. He punched out the strongest metal element fist, but such a powerful punch could not shake the void of the ancient city. The entire ancient city was extremely stable. Swish! More than a dozen ancient corpse soldiers attacked again. The bronze spears emitted the light of death, more powerful and terrifying than before. It seemed to have triggered the evil power in the ancient city. Boom! Two powerful forces collided together, and a terrifying shockwave spread out. The void shook, but it soon calmed down. What? Jiu Fei sensed that the ancient city was actually devouring his power. The martial power that he had punched out was absorbed by the ancient city and integrated into it. How could he continue fighting? These ancient corpse soldiers were getting stronger and stronger, while his own power was constantly being consumed. The final result seemed to have been decided. The violent power caused Jiu Fei to involuntarily take a dozen steps back. And those ancient corpse soldiers were also blocked by Jiu Fei's punch. More than a dozen ancient corpse soldiers were shaken by Jiu Fei's punch, but soon, they regained their balance. Shua! Jiu Fei had no choice but to use the purple gold divine sword. Only the purple gold divine sword could destroy the evil power in the ancient city. Just now, the golden spirit ape had been slain by his sword and had not stood up again. The killing intent on the extreme Tao divine weapon was too strong and terrifying. It could destroy the connection between the evil power of the ancient city and the evil in the city. The tip of the sword sliced through the air, and Ji Yufei pounced forward, waving the purple-gold divine sword in his hand. Clang! The bronze battle spears thrust out by the ancient corpse soldiers were all broken. Even though these battle spears were imprinted with divine patterns of the Great Path, they were nothing in front of the purple-gold divine sword. The power of the extreme Tao could destroy everything. Sword lights flashed again and again. One ancient corpse soldier after another was cut down by Ji Yufei. He didn't need to display his extreme divine power. Just the murderous aura exuded from the purple-gold divine sword was enough to deal with these ancient corpse soldiers. All the ancient corpse soldiers that were cut by the purple-gold divine sword fell to the ground. Even those that were grazed by the purple-gold divine sword were not spared. The ancient corpse soldiers turned into dust and dissipated into the void. These ancient corpse soldiers had fallen for countless years. The reason why they were immortal was that they were controlled by the evil power in the ancient city. The murderous aura on the purple-gold divine sword could destroy this evil power. Without the support of the evil power in the ancient city, these ancient corpse soldiers quickly decayed and turned into dust. Even the bronze battle spears were turned into dust. After killing these ancient corpse soldiers, Ji Yufei didn't stop. He directly used the mountain and river cauldron to protect himself. With the purple-gold divine sword in hand, he attacked the depths of the ancient city. Roar! At this moment, an angry roar sounded from the depths of the ancient city. The entire ancient city shook as if a terrifying existence had been provoked. Bang! From the houses on both sides of the ancient city streets, evil spirits constantly broke through the windows and rushed out, pouncing at Ji Yufei. Every evil spirit was extremely powerful. A powerful aura of death began to awaken in the ancient city. The evil power that was originally silent was gradually getting stronger. If it wasn't for the deterrence of the extreme divine might descending from the sky, the evil power in the ancient city would have already exploded. Even with the protection of the extreme divine weapon, Ji Yufei had to be careful. If he was trapped in the ancient city, it would be bad. Just as Ji Yufei was killing his way into the depths of the ancient city, the battle outside the sky-splitting valley was still going on. However, with the arrival of the powerful figures from the other superforces, even the experts from the Zhu clan and the Dongfang clan were having a hard time fighting against them. The people from the Zhu clan were gradually losing ground and were in danger of being ganged up on. Boom! Just as the battle was in a stalemate, a loud sound came from afar. In the distant sky, a giant tiger rushed down from the clouds, directly shattering dozens of mountains on the ground below. Everyone was startled by this scene. An extremely violent aura spread out from the white tiger's body, intimidating everyone. The people from the White Tiger clan are finally here. Someone exclaimed. Out of the 4 ancient clans of the southern wasteland, 3 of them had already arrived. Only one of the 4 ancient clans, the Black Tortoise clan, had yet to show up. The white tiger on the horizon let out a furious roar and leaped into the air. With just a fierce pounce, it instantly crossed the distance of the void and came close to them. With the arrival of the White Tiger clan, the Zhu clan and the Dongfang clan finally could not hold on any longer and were gradually suppressed. Roar! The roar of the tiger shook the sky. The white tiger that was as huge as a mountain was surrounded by the supreme Tao patterns of the White Tiger clan. It was a terrifying existence. To think that it's the old ancestor of the Black Tiger clan. Someone recognized the origin of the white tiger. It was a war tiger of the White Tiger clan. Some people thought that this ancient relic had already fallen in the Dark Ages, but to think that it would appear again in the current era. This war tiger was an expert from the end of the ancient era. It was originally a tiger saint, but for some unknown reason, the cultivation of this invincible tiger saint had fallen from the saint realm. Even though he was no longer the tiger saint, no one dared to look down on this old relic. The black tiger ancestor, who had revealed his true form, let out a roar. He opened his mouth and sucked in a breath towards the dozen experts from the Zhu clan of the desolate antiquity. A heaven-devouring power surged out from the tiger's mouth and directly swept the dozen experts into the tiger's mouth. They were all swallowed into the tiger's stomach with boundless ferocity. What? Everyone felt their scalps go numb at this scene. This tiger was too cruel. Those were the people from the Jew clan. The Jew clan would definitely not let this go just like that. This was definitely a big deal. Once the Jew clan was angered, the consequences would be unimaginable, especially for an ancient power like the Jew clan that had once produced an invincible emperor. Chapter 1687. His Too Cruel. The black tiger ancestor from the white tiger clan actually swallowed a dozen strong cultivators from the Jew clan of the desolate antiquity. Everyone who witnessed this scene was shocked to the extreme. At this point in the battle, no one really dared to slaughter the Jew clan's descendants, but the black tiger ancestor dared to. He pierced the heavens. Someone's voice trembled. The dozen Jew clan's descendants were not ordinary people. They were outstanding descendants chosen by the Jew clan to enter the virtual sky world to gain experience. However, these people were very unlucky. Before they could enter the virtual sky world, they were swallowed by Black Tiger Clan's White Tiger Clan's Black Tiger old ancestor and became his food. Black Tiger, you! A loud shout rang out. The eyes of the middle-aged Daoist who was fighting with the cultivator from the vermilion bird race turned red. He abandoned the cultivator from the vermilion bird race and charged towards the white tiger that was as large as a mountain. His killing intent soared into the sky. At this time, the vermilion bird cultivator didn't stop him. The black tiger ancestor had really passed this time. Killing a dozen of the Jew clan's outstanding descendants in one go was really a heaven-piercing feat. The Jew clan wouldn't let this go so easily. Everyone couldn't help but feel nervous. Go ask the ancestor to use the ancestral imperial weapon, someone shouted. The Jew clan had been operating near the sky-splitting valley for many years. There were many transportation formations nearby that could directly connect to the Jew clan's ancestral land. Everyone's expression changed. The Jew clan was going to be ruthless and use the ancestral imperial weapon. After all, it was a Renhuang divine weapon. Haha, do you want to use it? Bring it on. The tiger's body was surrounded by countless runes of the Great Path. It spoke in the human language and its tone was full of arrogance. It actually dared to challenge the Renhuang divine weapon. I'll kill you first. The middle-aged Daoist had already charged over at this time. He raised his hand and shot out 10 beams of immortal Tao divine light. These were not ordinary immortal Tao divine light. Within each beam of immortal Tao divine light, there were great Tao divine patterns faintly visible. This attack used the Great Path nomological laws cultivated by the middle-aged Daoist. The middle-aged Daoist was going to fight with his life on the line. This tiger had killed dozens of the most outstanding disciples of their families. Behind those disciples were all influential figures of the Jew clan. If these people died, the middle-aged Daoist wouldn't be able to answer for it. This responsibility was too great. Buzz. The void trembled. 10 streaks of immortal Tao divine light were like 10 heavenly swords, tearing apart the void, piercing through heaven and earth, hacking towards that white tiger. Roar. The white tiger that was as huge as a mountain merely roared at the divine light of the immortal Tao. A ripple visible to the naked eye immediately rushed out. The 10 streaks of divine light shook in unison, and then they actually shattered in the void. Bang! An invisible force sent the middle-aged Daoist who was charging over flying. After that, his entire body crumbled and turned into a mist of blood. What? That was a peak expert who was only half a step away from becoming a half-step sage, but he died just like that. Everyone who saw this felt a little surreal. To think that old ancestor Mystic Tiger's cultivation base and strength would be so strong that he could instantly kill peak experts. That middle-aged Daoist was incomparably strong. Earlier on, he had even fought against an old ancestor of the vermilion bird race. His battle prowess was something that everyone could see for themselves. And yet, someone as strong as him was roared to death by that white tiger. Could it be that mystic tiger, that old fogey, has actually taken that step? High up in the skies, a godly flame floated there like a sun, emitting a fiery glow. This was the old fogey of the vermilion bird race that had fought against the middle-aged Daoist earlier on. At this moment, a gigantic dragon silhouette stopped in the skies as well. This was not a true dragon, but a phenomenon born from the aura of a human. It was an old man dressed in green robes, extremely powerful. He came from one of the 4 ancient races of the southern wasteland, the Azure Dragon race. Reckless fool. A tyrannical voice rang out as the white tiger transformed. A tall old man with white hair and a beard appeared before everyone's eyes. At this moment, old ancestor Mystic Tiger took on human form. Boom. At this moment, the space near the sky-splitting valley suddenly collapsed. A 5-colored divine light broke through the void and appeared between heaven and earth. It was a spatial passageway formed from the power of the 5 elements. A terrifying aura rushed out from the spatial passageway, causing everyone's soul to tremble. This was a vast and boundless fluctuation, as if a supreme being was awakening. What? The Zhou clan of the ancient antiquity is really using the Renhuang divine weapon? Everyone was shocked. Some people retreated at the first moment. What a joke! The Zhou clan of the ancient antiquity was really going all out this time. Old ancestor Mystic Tiger had gone too far. More than 10 outstanding disciples were originally the hope of the Zhou clan of the ancient antiquity. If they didn't die, these people would become a powerful force that could support the Zhou clan of the ancient antiquity. Old fart Mystic Tiger, hand over your life. An ancient voice rang out from within the 5-colored spatial passageway. An old man walked out from the spatial passageway. This old man was wearing an ancient armor. A Renhuang aura that made all living beings tremble spread out from the old man's armor. This aura wasn't strong, but it shook people's hearts as if they were facing an invincible Renhuang. They almost wanted to kneel down and worship him. Ancient patterns of Tao were imprinted on the armor. In addition to the patterns, it was also covered with cuts from swords, spears, and halberds. The Renhuang divine armor. After seeing the old man's armor, old ancestor Mystic Tiger couldn't help but be moved even though he was extremely ferocious. He never expected the Zhou clan of the ancient antiquity to be able to use the Renhuang divine weapon in such a short time. This kind of Renhuang divine weapon, which was second only to, or even equal to, a divine weapon of the extreme path, wasn't easy to use. This was also the reason why old ancestor Mystic Tiger dared to act so forcefully. By the time the Zhou clan of the ancient antiquity invited the Renhuang divine weapon, the matter here would probably be over. However, old ancestor Mystic Tiger was wrong. In order to enter the virtual sky world, the Zhou clan of the ancient antiquity had been planning for nearly 100 years. The Zhou clan of the ancient antiquity had already prepared the Renhuang divine weapon. The god inside the Renhuang divine weapon was in a half-asleep state. When the old man from the Zhou clan of the ancient antiquity walked out, some people in the vicinity immediately retreated. Even the old antiques from the Vermilion Bird clan and the Azure Dragon clan retreated. I didn't expect you to still be alive. When old ancestor Mystic Tiger saw the old man, his eyes immediately lit up. He recognized this person. His condition was the same as his own, both of them had fallen from the saint level. However, old ancestor Mystic Tiger seemed to have taken that step again. Chapter 1688. Great ancestor Xuanhu killed more than a dozen outstanding children of the Zhou family. The Zhou family was furious and didn't hesitate to use the ultimate power of the family to deal with great ancestor Xuanhu. With the appearance of a great ancestor of the Zhou family, the whole world seemed to collapse. The aura of Renhuang filled the air, shocking the heavens. Zhu Huang, I can't believe you're still alive. Great ancestor Xuanhu recognized the old man. He was a genius of the Zhou family. In the distant past, this old man almost became a Renhuang. The Zhou family almost had a second Renhuang, but unfortunately, old man Zhu Huang failed to reach the Renhuang realm and almost died. He disappeared from then on. Unexpectedly, old man Zhu Huang didn't die and his cultivation recovered to the semi-saint realm. He was definitely one of the most powerful people in the Zhou family. Xuanhu, your time has come. Wearing Renhuang armor, old man Zhu Huang walked toward great ancestor Xuanhu step by step. Even the divine might from the virtual sky world couldn't affect him. Ancient Renhuang, to some extent, were already strong cultivators of the extreme path. They could ignore the pressure of supreme masters. Wearing Renhuang armor, old man Zhu Huang's body surged with power. The patterns on the ancient armor began to awaken. The half-asleep Renhuang armors will began to awaken. Roar. Great ancestor Xuanhu roared. He didn't say anything and directly attacked. His hands turned into tiger claws and grabbed at Old Man Zhu Huang. Violent power erupted. Old Man Zhu Huang was attacking with all his strength. He couldn't let Old Man Zhu Huang awaken the Renhuang armor's will. Otherwise, he would die without a burial. If the Renhuang divine weapon was completely awakened, even a true saint wouldn't be able to withstand a blow from it. Rumble. The void of heaven and earth was shattered by the claws. Mountains collapsed one after another. The energy ripples coming from the two tiger claws were too strong. The tiger stripes of the white tiger clan shone brightly. At this moment, everyone retreated far away. What a joke! The Zhu clan of the remote antiquity was serious. Who could contend against a Renhuang divine weapon? Old Man Zhu Huang was still calm in the face of great ancestor Xuanhu's powerful attack. He stretched out his right hand and pressed forward. Bang! The two tiger claws that were about to grab Elder Zhu Huang immediately collapsed. In front of the Renhuang armor, this kind of attack from the Xuanhu great ancestor seemed to be nothing. What? The black tiger great ancestor was taken aback. He never expected that the Renhuang armor could already display such combat strength before it was fully awakened. At this time, the other experts who were fighting had already stopped. Everyone's hearts skipped a beat when they saw this. The Renhuang armor of the Zhu clan of the ancients truly lived up to its name. After all, it was a supreme imperial weapon refined by the Renhuang of the ancients. Although Black Tiger Old Ancestor was domineering, it did not mean that he did not fear death. Shua. Old Ancestor Black Tiger decisively turned around and fled. If he didn't flee now, then there was no need to flee anymore. He could just wait here for his old rival to kill him. So what if you have become a quasi-sage? Even if a sage comes, he will still die. Elder Zhu Huang roared angrily. He took a step forward, and the divine light of the great path surged beneath his feet. He traversed the void in an instant and appeared behind the Xuanhu Great Elder. He then slammed a palm at the Xuanhu Great Elder. Bang! Without any suspense, a muffled sound was heard and the Xuanhu Great Elder was sent flying. He spat out a mouthful of blood. The Renhuang armor was unimaginably powerful. The aura from Elder Zhu Huang made all living beings tremble and the sky and earth lost their colors. With just one slap, he almost killed the ferocious Xuanhu Great Elder on the spot. This kind of power was not Elder Zhu Huang's own power. As one of the four ancient clans of the southern wasteland, the White Tiger clan had an extremely deep foundation. They were not much weaker than the Zhu clan of the ancients. Zhu Huang, how dare you? The Xuanhu Great Elder was shocked. The power of the Renhuang divine weapon made a new quasi-sage like him shudder. Even a quasi-sage would not be able to fight back at all. The Renhuang divine weapon had been awakened, and it could really kill a sage. Bang! Elder Zhu Huang struck again. This time, the physical body of the Xuanhu Great Elder was smashed into pieces. A cloud of blood exploded in the air. That was the blood of a quasi-sage. However, very quickly, the blood mist gathered together again. The broken pieces of the physical body flew back and the broken pieces of flesh quickly reassembled. In just a few breaths, the Xuanhu Great Elder had recovered. It was extremely difficult to kill an existence of this level unless one used a special method. However, the Black Tiger Old Ancestor's aura had weakened by more than half. Although the Xuanhu Great Elder was not killed by Elder Zhu Huang, he was still severely injured. After his physical body was reassembled, the first thing the Xuanhu Great Elder did was to escape. In front of the Renhuang divine weapon, even a quasi-sage like him was as weak as an ant. I'm still lacking a little. Elder Zhu Huang sighed. At this moment, the deity's will in the Renhuang armor had not fully awakened. Otherwise, the two attacks just now would have killed the Xuanhu Great Elder countless times over. He took a step forward and caught up to the Xuanhu Great Elder. He slapped out again. At this moment, the deity's will in the Renhuang armor recovered a little more. A surge of Renhuang power gathered on Elder Zhu Huang's right hand and rushed out from his hand. No one stopped it. Everyone knew that the Xuanhu Great Elder had gone too far this time, causing the Zhu clan of the ancients to retaliate. Even the experts of the Vermilion Bird clan and the Azure Dragon clan did not stand out. There was no suspense in what happened next. The physical body of the Xuanhu Great Elder was continuously smashed into pieces and then reassembled. The power of the Xuanhu Great Elder was constantly weakening. Boom! In the final attack, the Xuanhu Great Elder's body shone with divine light. The deity's will in the Renhuang battle skill had finally awakened. The power of the Renhuang caused the Xuanhu Great Elder's physical body and primordial spirit to collapse. This time, the Xuanhu Great Elder's physical body could no longer be reassembled. Both his body and primordial spirit were destroyed. A quasi-sage of the White Tiger clan had fallen just like that. To the White Tiger clan, this was definitely a great loss. The Zhu clan of the ancients and the White Tiger clan could be considered to have formed a great enmity. Rumble, the world shook. At this time, the Zhu clan of the ancients' Renhuang battle armor had completely awakened. The mighty divine power of the Renhuang emitted from the Renhuang battle armor intimidated everyone present. Elder Zhu Huang directly entered the virtual sky world. With the protection of the Renhuang divine weapon, he didn't need to be afraid of anyone. He wanted to go in and see what was happening inside. After Elder Zhu Huang entered the virtual sky world, the aura of the extreme great path emitted from the virtual sky world began to weaken. At this time, inside the virtual sky world, the divine power of the extreme great path emitted from the giant cocoon in the sky began to converge. The reconstruction of the peerless ominous saber was almost complete. The divine power of the extreme great path that enveloped the entire virtual sky world began to fade. At this time, Jiyu Fei had already broken into the central area of the ancient ominous city. He had been here before. The streets were filled with scattered bones. Countless evil and ancient corpse soldiers surrounded Jiyu Fei and kept attacking him. At Jiyu Fei's feet, there were no less than hundreds of corpses. They were all ancient corpse soldiers or other evil corpses controlled by the evil power in the ancient ominous city. The mountain and river cauldron floated above his head. The evil corpses around him couldn't attack him at all. However, every time Jiyu Fei brandished the purple gold divine sword, evil corpses were hit and rolled on the ground, motionless. Just as Jiyu Fei was about to kill, he suddenly felt something and looked at the giant cocoon in the sky. The divine power of the extreme great path was fading. This wasn't a good thing. Outrageous. I've worked in vain. Jiyu Fei knew that if the giant cocoon in the sky no longer emitted the divine power of the extreme great path, he would be in danger. The evil power in the ancient ominous city was about to recover. He was already not far from one of the divine treasures in the city. Although Jiyu Fei was somewhat unwilling to retreat now, he had no other choice. The divine power of the extreme great path was fading, and the evil power in the ancient ominous city was recovering. Ancient corpse soldiers kept coming from the distance. Soon enough, Jiyu Fei was surrounded by more than 1,000 evil creatures and ancient corpse soldiers. Moreover, more and more evil creatures and ancient corpse soldiers were gathering from the surroundings of the ancient city. Roar! A terrifying roar came from the depths of the ancient city. Some terrifying existences sensed the changes in the sky. The divine power of the extreme great path began to converge, and the domineering fluctuation retreated. Swish! Jiyu Fei didn't hesitate. He used the purple gold divine sword to open a path and killed his way out of the encirclement of the ancient corpse soldiers. Ancient corpse soldiers kept falling under his feet. Nothing could stop the divine sword of the extreme great path. Jiyu Fei continued to kill his way out of the ominous city. Ancient corpse soldiers were like moths flying into a flame, rushing towards him, and all of them were killed by him. The existences in the depths of the ancient city wanted to trap Jiyu Fei inside, but Jiyu Fei had 2 divine treasures to protect him. Even the terrifying existences in the ancient ominous city had to be cautious. In the end, Jiyu Fei took advantage of the fact that the divine power in the sky had not completely disappeared to kill his way out of the ancient ominous city. However, just as Jiyu Fei came out of the ancient city, a vast aura appeared between heaven and earth. Then, he saw a scene that shocked even him. An old man wearing an ancient armor actually soared into the sky and rushed towards the giant cocoon that wrapped the peerless ominous blade. There was actually someone who was not afraid of the divine power of the extreme great path and wanted to take the giant cocoon. Where did this guy come from? Jiu Fei sensed the strangeness of the old man's armor. A powerful aura that was not weaker than the divine power of the extreme great path emitted from the armor. It's not a divine weapon of the extreme great path, could it be? Jiu Fei was extremely shocked. It was not a divine weapon of the extreme great path, but it was able to withstand the divine power of the extreme great path. Could it be that the old man was wearing a legendary divine weapon of the human emperor? Chapter 1689. Although Jiu Fei was protected by the mountain and river cauldron and had the purple gold divine sword in his hand, the divine might of the extreme great path in the sky began to recede, and the terrifying power in the vicious city of the eternal era began to erupt again. He knew that once the divine might of the extreme great path from the extreme ominous blade in the sky completely receded, it would be impossible for him to kill his way out of the vicious city of the eternal era. Unless he could truly drive the divine weapon of the extreme great path and display the true divine might of the extreme great path. As a last resort, Jiu Fei could only take advantage of the fact that the divine might of the extreme great path from the sky had not completely disappeared to kill his way out of the ancient city. He had the mountain and river cauldron to protect him and the purple gold divine sword in his hand. Although the evil in the city was powerful, they could not stop him. However, when Jiu Fei killed his way out of the vicious city, the scene he saw shocked him to the extreme. It was really unbelievable. He saw an old man wearing ancient armor who could actually soar into the sky and rush towards the huge cocoon that wrapped the peerless ominous blade in the sky. This old man could actually ignore the divine might of the extreme great path. How was this possible? No one knew the terror of the divine might of the extreme great path better than Jiu Fei. Just a wisp of this kind of aura was enough to shock the world. In the entire virtual sky world, only Jiu Fei could move freely. No matter how powerful the other creatures were, they had to tremble and kneel on the ground in fear. At this time, the old man wearing ancient armor had already approached the huge cocoon. Ancient divine patterns began to appear on the armor on his body. An aura similar to the divine might of the extreme great path spread from the old man's armor as if a life had awakened. It's the Renhuang divine weapon, no wonder. Jiu Fei sensed the aura spreading from the old man and couldn't help but be moved. This was the imperial might of an invincible Renhuang that could challenge the extreme great path. This was an invincible will that looked down on the world. Roar. Up in the sky, the old man roared. Although he was wearing Renhuang armor, he still encountered great resistance. The ultimate laws were vast and mighty. He wanted to rush through, but it was very difficult. Although the ancient Renhuangs were not extreme path supremes, great accomplishment Renhuangs were enough to compete with extreme path supremes. The Renhuang divine weapons refined by Renhuangs also contained God's will. Such a divine weapon was equivalent to an extension of the life of a human emperor. Rumble, two invincible laws of the great path were fighting against each other, causing the entire virtual sky world to shake. The extreme ominous saber of the extreme path sensed the aura of the human emperor armor and reacted instinctively. The Renhuang battle techniques on the old man's body were completely activated. Invincible Renhuang laws rushed out, and the ancient patterns emitted dazzling divine light of the great path. He pressed forward with great difficulty, but the extreme ominous saber was, after all, an extreme Tao divine weapon refined by a supreme being. The extreme Tao laws could block all kinds of power. The giant cocoon gradually dissipated, and the extreme Tao essence chi was devoured by the extreme Tao ominous saber inside. Buzz. With a deafening sound, the giant cocoon was instantly torn apart, then turned into rays of extreme Tao divine light and was devoured by the divine path divine blade. It was a flawless divine blade. At this time, the God's will that was divided into two halves of the extreme Tao ominous saber finally fused together. The extreme ominous saber of the extreme Tao ominous saber was truly reassembled. Roar. A dragon roar resounded in the sky. A huge dragon shadow rushed out from the divine blade floating high in the sky and stood horizontally in the sky. This dragon shadow was so huge that it blocked the entire sky, giving people a great sense of oppression. Even the old man wearing the Renhuang armor couldn't help but tremble. This was a fear that came from the depths of his soul. Even if he was wearing the Renhuang armor, he still couldn't block that kind of pressure. A complete extreme Dao divine weapon was too powerful. It was not something that ordinary people could withstand. Let's go. Zhu Huang knew that he had missed the best opportunity. It was impossible to take the extreme Dao divine weapon at this time. The god inside the extreme Dao divine weapon would not easily yield to anyone. The weapon's soul was unyielding. Even if he could temporarily suppress it, the extreme Dao divine weapon would fly away on its own after a long time. He was very decisive. He knew that he couldn't do it, so he immediately retreated. The god inside the Renhuang armor was also unwilling to confront the extreme Dao divine weapon head-on. After all, this might result in both sides suffering. The Renhuang armor was the ultimate heritage of the Zhu family of the ancients. It couldn't be damaged in any way. It wasn't easy for the Zhu family of the ancients to survive until now. This family had faced several crises of being exterminated, but in the end, they were saved. Because of the Renhuang armor left by Emperor Wudi, the Zhu family of the ancients was able to survive. Zhu Huang retreated carefully. At this time, the extreme Dao divine might emanating from the extreme ominous saber in the sky also gradually faded. The hundreds of millions of creatures in the entire virtual sky world breathed a sigh of relief. In the end, the extreme Dao divine might completely disappeared into the extreme ominous saber. The god inside the saber began to sleep, and the huge dragon shadow in the sky gradually dissipated into the void. When everything was silent, the divine saber turned into a beam of saber light and rushed towards Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei held the extreme ominous saber in his hand. Upon closer inspection, he found that there wasn't even a mark on this extreme ominous saber. The entire saber was natural, as if it had never been broken. Good saber. He could sense that even though the god in the extreme ominous saber in his hand was in a deep slumber, the murderous aura on the divine saber was enough to move him. The murderous aura on the extreme ominous saber was even more terrifying than the murderous aura of the purple gold divine sword. At this time, all the creatures in the virtual sky world could move freely. Old man Zhu Yi was the first to rush over with the stone tower in his hand. Then, the old man in the ancient armor also appeared. Rumble, the ancient ominous city floating in the void was shaking. A huge figure stood up in the ancient ominous city, and a terrifying aura of death spread out from the city. The powerful beings who were suppressed by the extreme Dao divine might jumped out at once. Hand over the divine weapon in your hand. Old man Zhu Huang, who was wearing the Renhuang armor, was very direct. He pressed towards Ji Yufei, and the aura of the Renhuang spread out from the armor on his body. Ji Yufei snorted coldly and said nothing. He just stared coldly at the old man who was pressing towards him. The aura of the Renhuang made him feel great pressure. Buzz. At this time, the mountain and river cauldron above Ji Yufei's head suddenly shook, and primordial chaotic aura loomed over the cauldron. This extreme Dao divine weapon seemed to be showing signs of awakening. Seeing this, old man Zhu Huang stopped immediately. He knew that the Renhuang armor on his body could cause the extreme Dao divine weapon on his opponent to react. They were both the most powerful divine weapons in the world. When a Renhuang divine weapon and an extreme Dao divine weapon met, the gods will contained in both of them would sense it and awaken from their slumber. Although old man Zhu Huang was powerful, the other party had 3 extreme Dao divine weapons. When the 3 extreme Dao divine weapons awakened together, even with the protection of a Renhuang divine weapon, old man Zhu Huang was afraid that he would not be a match for him. Ji Yufei, I think it's better for you to hand over the divine weapon. At this time, old man Zhu Yi spoke. The divine weapon is on me. Take it from me if you have the ability. Ji Yufei's expression became a little ugly. These guys were not good people. The world of cultivation was cruel. Whoever had the bigger fist was the boss. Moreover, only the strong would be respected by others. It was difficult for the weak to survive even if they wanted to. You don't know what's good for you. Old man Zhu Huang was very unhappy. This little guy did not know how to appreciate favors. Ji Yufei, Although you have the extreme Tao divine weapon, you can't use it. Sooner or later, it will be taken away by others, Old Man Juyi advised. He did not want the extreme Tao divine weapon to fall into the hands of others. Why are you saying so much? Don't you just want the divine weapon in my hands? Ji Yufei's words were extremely cold. These guys really took him for a fool. These high-sounding words were of no use to him. Old Man Juyi's face turned red, but he did not know what to say for a moment. Swoosh. Ji Yufei retreated right away. He felt uncomfortable being stared at by these two great cultivators. He knew that the old man in the Renhuang armor did not dare to attack him. If this old man dared to attack, the three extreme Tao divine weapons on him would awaken. When the three extreme Tao divine weapons were awakened, even a real Renhuang would be stunned. Old Man Juyi wanted to attack, but he had scruples about the purple gold divine sword and the extreme Tao fierce blade in Ji Yufei's hands. The two cultivators of the Zhu family of the remote antiquity could only watch as Ji Yufei disappeared in front of their eyes with the three extreme Tao divine weapons. They could only stare at him helplessly. This is outrageous. Old Man Zhu Huang blew his beard and glared at Yi Futian. His face turned red from anger. A junior dared to be so presumptuous in front of him, ignoring the existence of his people. How many years had it been since something like this happened? Old Man Juyi's expression was also extremely gloomy. He was the one who invited Ji Yufei, and now his intestines were green with regret. The Zhu family of the remote antiquity had made a wedding dress for someone else. They had gone to great lengths to enter the virtual sky world, but the extreme Tao divine weapons had been taken away by someone else. Old Man Zhu Yi was extremely depressed. After a while, Old Man Zhu Huang finally said, "At least we have to unite with the other two forces of the remote antiquity and invite their Renhuang divine weapons to suppress that little guy." The Renhuang divine weapons could awaken the gods in the extreme Tao divine weapons. The consequences of this kind of collision of the extreme Tao divine weapons were unimaginable. However, they could not let Ji Yufei leave. Old Man Juyi pondered for a long time before saying, "Then let's invite the Jiang family and the Li family." Alas, that's the only way. Old Man Zhu Huang nodded. The situation in front of them was the last thing they wanted to see. They were originally their own extreme Tao divine weapons, but now they had to share them with others. If they wanted the Jiang family and the Li family to mobilize their Renhuang divine weapons, they had to pay such a price, and the price was too high. Chapter 1690. There were very few divine weapons of the highest path refined by supreme beings, but Renhuang divine weapons were not rare. In ancient times, there were many invincible Renhuang divine weapons. For example, the Zhu clan, the Jiang clan, the Li clan, and other super forces of the remote antiquity should have divine weapons left by Renhuang divine weapons. Only in this way could these forces be inherited. The semi-saint of the Zhu clan of the remote antiquity knew that it would be difficult to seize the divine weapons of the highest path from Ji Yufei alone. Divine weapons of the highest path and Renhuang divine weapons could sense each other. Once the Renhuang divine weapons were awakened, Ji Yufei's divine weapons of the highest path would also inevitably react. No one could compete with the three divine weapons of the highest path. The Zhu clan of the remote antiquity had to invite the other two clans with Renhuang divine weapons. If they gathered the three Renhuang divine weapons, they should be able to suppress Ji Yufei's three divine weapons of the highest path. At this time, because the ominous saber of the highest path had completely restrained its aura and was taken away by Ji Yufei, the people outside the virtual sky world began to enter it. The legendary virtual sky world attracted the attention of countless strong cultivators. Even the demons came to participate. Rumble, in the depths of the 100,000 mountains, the world shook and mountains turned into dust. Two strong cultivators were fighting, and their terrifying aura spread in all directions. Roar. The dragon's roar shook the sky. A golden dragon shadow loomed between heaven and earth, and the aura of a real dragon swept in all directions, intimidating all creatures in the entire area. Dragons were supreme divine beasts. They were born to be above all living beings, and their aura could intimidate all beasts. A demonic shadow loomed in the void, fighting endlessly with the golden dragon. This was a kind of vision derived from the fighting intent of the two strong cultivators. As for the real battle, it was between two fast-moving silhouettes. Boom! The two cultivators collided head-on. The void shattered, and rocks flew through the air. The two figures were quickly separated, and each was sent flying thousands of feet away by the other's power. Yellow Dragon, you want to kill me? Don't even think about it. The Devil Chi was vast and mighty. It was a great devil that was surrounded by Devil Chi. Within the pitch-black Devil Chi, there were indistinct Dao patterns of the Devil Dao. A powerful Devil Dao power spread out. They were none other than the Demon Lord of the human realm, Yellow Dragon, and Demon Monarch of Six Paths. These two powerhouses were mortal enemies. So, they would fight to the death if they encountered each other. After all, these two existences were only half a step away from the Semisage realm. Such an existence was incomparably powerful. Even in the entire human realm, he would be an expert of a region. After all, even though there were many half-saints in the mortal dimension, it was far from being to the extent that they could be seen everywhere. In the eyes of the people of the world, only peak experts were true existences. Preposterous! Demon Lord Huang Long's eyes widened in anger. He used a secret technique of the Dragon Clan and struck out with the Azure Dragon Claw. The Dragon Claw instantly covered the space in front of him and tore apart the heavens and earth. It emitted extremely terrifying ripples as it grabbed towards Demon Monarch of Six Paths' demonic Dao Samsara. Demon Monarch of Six Paths shouted loudly. A blood-red demonic light shot out from between his eyebrows. It was as if a blood-red demonic eye had appeared there. The demonic eye seemed to be connected to a blood-red demonic domain. It emitted a power that could devour the sky. It was trying to devour the Azure Dragon Claw into the blood-red domain behind the demonic eye. Rumble! The two Dao laws collided. The Azure Dragon Claw collided with the blood-red vortex that had rushed out from between Demon Monarch of Six Paths' eyebrows. The Azure Dragon Claw directly tore the vortex apart and forced Demon Monarch of Six Paths to retreat. This, Demon Monarch of Six Paths was shocked. He had never expected that his old rival had cultivated a secret technique of the Dragon Clan. It was truly powerful. Clang! A blood-red saber light suddenly appeared in Demon Monarch of Six Paths' hand. The Sky Devil saber instantly soared into the sky. A terrifying demonic power spread out from the demonic saber. This demonic power could disturb a person's mind. It could even cause a cultivator to develop inner demons. However, for an expert like Demon Lord Huang Long, this demonic aura could not affect his mind. Swish! The saber light of the Sky Devil saber flashed through the void and fiercely slashed at the Azure Dragon Claw. The sound of metal clashing was heard. The blood-red saber light collapsed, and the Azure Dragon Claw also dissipated into the void. Die! Demon Monarch of Six Paths was extremely powerful. He held the demonic saber in his hand and rushed through the energy storm that swept out when the Azure Dragon Claw dissipated. He directly slashed at Demon Lord Huang Long's head. Demon Lord Huang Long flipped his right hand, and a small flag appeared in his palm. The small flag instantly enlarged and was grasped by Demon Lord Huang Long whoosh. The Demon Lord, Huang Long, waved the demon flag in his hand. A terrifying force immediately surged out from the demon flag and collided with the Sky Demon Blade. This is, Demon Monarch of Six Paths was shocked. The demon flag in Demon Lord Huang Long's hand wasn't a complete one. It was a damaged demon flag. The ancient demon flag was engraved with ancient demon marks. An ancient aura spread out from the ancient demon flag. It was an antique, and although half of it had decayed, it still displayed great power. When the broken flag swept over, Demon Monarch of Six Paths felt his hands tremble. The Sky Devil saber almost flew out of his hand, which shocked him greatly. Good fella. Let's fight again in the future. Demon Monarch of Six Paths knew that the current situation was very disadvantageous to him. The broken flag in Demon Lord Huang Long's hand probably had a great origin. Although it was broken, it could still deflect the saber aura of the Sky Devil saber. Demon Monarch of Six Paths saw that the situation was not in his favor. Where do you think you're going? Demon Lord Huang Long waved the big flag in his hand and chased after Demon Monarch of Six Paths. He knew Demon Monarch of Six Paths' character very well. Soon, the two of them disappeared into the depths of the 100,000 mountains. At the same time, outside the sky-splitting valley, a group of experts entered the virtual sky world. Although the Zhu clan of the remote antiquity had used the human emperor's divine weapon, Elder Zhu Huang didn't dare to start a massacre. One had to know that these people all had extraordinary origins. They all had powerful inheritances behind them. Previously, the great ancestor of Black Tiger came from the White Tiger clan, one of the 4 ancient clans of the southern wasteland. This was the inheritance of the White Tiger, a supreme divine beast. However, the great ancestor of Black Tiger went too far and killed more than 10 outstanding disciples of the Zhu clan of the remote antiquity. Therefore, when Elder Zhu Huang of the Zhu clan of the remote antiquity arrived and killed him on the spot, no one was willing to help the great ancestor of Black Tiger. Killing outstanding figures of the younger generation was a taboo. Zhu Huang, you killed my big brother. I'll pay you back with your life. Just as everyone entered the virtual sky world, a huge white tiger appeared in the sky. Its aura was no less fierce than that of the great ancestor of Black Tiger. Clang! At that moment, the ancient armor on Elder Zhu Huang's body vibrated. The aura of the human emperor's great path lingered, and the god inside the armor was automatically awakening. What? Elder Zhu Huang was shocked. This kind of situation would only happen when the human emperor's divine weapon encountered a divine weapon of the same level. Could it be? Elder Zhu Huang thought of a possibility and couldn't help but change his expression. Boom! At that moment, a ferocious aura that was many times stronger than that of the white tiger suddenly burst out, sweeping over like an avalanche. Rumble, heaven and earth shook, and the mountains shook. If it weren't for the protection of the formation, the whole Rift Valley would have collapsed. The power of the ancient 4 spiritual formation stabilized this violent force. On the 4 ancient formation platforms, old monster Shen Yuan was surrounded by pieces of top-grade spirit stones. These spirit stones were providing him with a steady stream of spiritual aura, replenishing the primordial qi in his body and helping him control the ancient 4 spiritual formation. Endless starlight fell from the 4 constellations and entered the 4 ancient formation platforms. Even the fluctuation of power comparable to that of the human emperor's divine weapon couldn't shake it. The White Tiger clan, old man Zhu Huang, stood high up in the sky. His pupils constricted. The white tiger in the distant sky was rapidly approaching. The white tiger had something in its mouth. Kill. When the huge white tiger came close, it suddenly disappeared. In its place was an incomparably wild white-haired man dressed in animal skin. The man held a large seal in his hand, which had the illusion of a white tiger circling above it. The white-haired man directly struck out with the seal in his hand. The large seal rose into the sky, emitting countless divine patterns of the Great Path, intertwining with the power of the Great Path. Flawless Great Path, the Renhuang armor on Elder Zhu Huang's body clanked. The large seal smashed towards him, causing him to be moved. This was the foundation of the White Tiger clan. Although it wasn't a divine weapon of the Great Path, it was infinitely close to it. Bang! Elder Zhu Huang punched out, and the power of Renhuang gathered on his right fist, causing his fist to burst with dazzling divine light, illuminating the whole world. At that moment, everyone nearby scrambled to hide. These 2 guys actually dared to use such power to fight. Did they want to destroy the entire 100,000 mountains? Boom! Amidst a deafening rumble, old man Zhu Huang's fist collided violently with the huge seal that was pressing down on him. The 2 powers that were infinitely close to the extreme Tao spread out, destroying everything in their path. Most of the sky-splitting valley collapsed, and the earth was sinking. Mountains were instantly turned into flying ash, completely disappearing between heaven and earth in an instant. Even the 4 ancient formation platforms were affected by the shockwaves and began to tremble. 2 madmen. Aren't they afraid of attracting those people? Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked to the point where it was difficult to be more shocked. The area within a radius of 1,000 miles was turned into powder under this blow. It's the legendary White Tiger sky-flipping seal. I didn't expect the ancestors of the White Tiger clan to leave behind such a supreme seal. The White Tiger Sky-Flipping Seal versus the Renhuang armor was destined to be a fierce battle. It should be known that this divine implement of the White Tiger clan was not inferior to the Renhuang armor. Chapter 1691. Elder Zhu Huang killed the great ancestor of the White Tiger clan, and the younger brother of the great ancestor of the White Tiger clan came to avenge the great ancestor of the White Tiger clan. The White Tiger clan had always been strong and famous in the southern wilderness. Even if the great ancestor of the Black Tiger clan went too far, his brother still stood up for him. Boom! With a loud noise, heaven and earth shook, and a terrifying pressure swept through the world, making all the cultivators in the nearby area feel their souls tremble. This was a supreme aura, comparable to that of an extreme supreme being, making all living beings tremble. The cultivators of the White Tiger clan met it head-on, directly using the White Tiger Sky-Flipping Seal, the supreme divine weapon of the White Tiger clan, wanting to smash Elder Zhu Huang into minced meat. However, Elder Zhu Huang was wearing the Renhuang armor, so he could use the power of the armor for his own use. With one punch, a hole would be smashed in the world. Two supreme forces collided. The White Tiger Sky-Flipping Seal was sent flying by Elder Zhu Huang's punch, and Elder Zhu Huang was also knocked down from the sky by the power that erupted from the seal. Swish! Elder Zhu Huang rose from the ground, then directly rushed into the depths of the 100,000 mountains. Zhu Huang, you old fool, where do you think you're going? The wild man roared and recalled the White Tiger Sky-Flipping Seal, then chased after Elder Zhu Huang. His murderous aura soared into the sky, making people's hearts palpitate. The White Tiger clan has really gone too far. Elder Zhu Yi stood high in the sky, holding the stone tower in his hand. His expression was extremely ugly. The people of the White Tiger clan were extremely arrogant. Did they really think that their clan was already invincible? He didn't chase after them because he knew that even if he did, it would be of no help. Even if he had a holy weapon, he would still be vulnerable in front of the White Tiger Sky-Flipping Seal. As the two great cultivators left, the cultivators in the nearby area gathered again and began to enter the virtual sky world. Many people also chased after them. A battle between cultivators of this level could only be encountered by chance. Some people wanted to watch the battle, but there weren't many of them. Most people were attracted by the virtual sky world. The virtual sky world was a legendary existence. There were countless dangers inside, but there were also countless opportunities. There were immortals' caves left by ancient cultivators, divine medicines that could increase one's cultivation level, and rare divine materials. Everyone wanted to go in and try their luck. Back then, the founders of the three great Daoist groups in the human world accidentally entered the virtual sky world and obtained a Daoist book. Afterwards, they founded the three great Daoist groups. While the experts outside were scrambling to enter the virtual sky world, Ji Yufei was already heading toward the depths of the virtual sky world. No one knew what was in the depths of the virtual sky world. Even back then, Ji Yufei and the others didn't set foot in that area, so there might be an inheritance of the extreme Dao there. After all, in this virtual sky world, traces of divine tools of extreme Dao and what was suspected to be immortal divine medicine had appeared one after another. All of this was enough to drive all cultivators crazy. Boom! The void trembled, and a divine bird as large as a mountain flew across the sky. It was like an ancient golden crow, and endless flames illuminated the world. This was a strong cultivator of the Vermilion Bird clan who had awakened the Vermilion Bird's bloodline. Here, this strong cultivator's cultivation wasn't suppressed. After entering the virtual sky world, there was only one possibility: this cultivator's cultivation wasn't suppressed. That was, this cultivator had a divine tool with him. Only a divine tool could isolate the power of the laws of heaven and earth in the virtual sky world. After the strong cultivator of the Vermilion Bird clan passed by, a huge dragon flew over from the horizon. This was an azure dragon, and with endless dragon might, it rushed into the depths of the mountain. Boom! Soon, a terrifying fluctuation infinitely close to the divine might of the extreme Dao broke out in this part of the world. Finally, someone used the second Emperor divine weapon. This kind of fluctuation was monstrous. The laws of heaven and earth in the virtual sky world couldn't do anything to this kind of power. That direction, On the top of a mountain in the depths of the virtual sky world, Ji Yufei looked in the direction of the eternal ominous city in surprise. The Supreme Emperor's might came from there. Is someone attacking the eternal ominous city with the human emperor divine weapon? Ji Yufei was bewildered. There must be divine treasures in the eternal ominous city. Even the death aura in the city couldn't completely cover that kind of treasure light. At this time, Ji Yufei couldn't care less about the eternal ominous city. Moreover, someone was coming with the human emperor divine weapon. If he went there, he wouldn't be able to gain any advantage. The human emperor divine weapon was extremely powerful, especially in the hands of the descendant of the human emperor. In front of the mountain, black chi surged, and a black pillar of smoke rose up into the sky, connecting the sky and the ground. A terrifying aura could be felt from it. Ji Yufei didn't expect there to be such a place in the depths of the virtual sky world. In front of him seemed to be a ghost realm. It was gloomy, terrifying, and dark, and there seemed to be ghost shadows looming inside. In the ghost realm in front of him, faint ghost howls could be heard. It seemed to be a place where the souls of the dead gathered. Is it man-made or naturally formed? Ji Yufei muttered to himself. He carefully observed the terrain in front of him. There were mountains on both sides, but there was a circle in the middle. This kind of layout was suitable for gathering qi. With the surrounding mountains as a barrier, it was difficult for the yin qi in the circle to leak out, and it was also difficult for the spiritual aura from the outside to enter. Over time, the yin qi condensed and formed this kind of area. If it was formed naturally, this ghost realm would not be so terrible. However, if it was formed artificially, then it was a different story. Such a yin land was definitely an excellent place to raise corpses. If someone put some evil corpses inside, the consequences would be unpredictable. To enter or not to enter? Ji Yufei was a little hesitant. It should be known that the area in front of him was definitely not a good place. There must be danger inside. Such an area was likely to have given birth to experts of the ghost path. How can you get tiger cubs without entering the tiger's den? Ji Yufei's eyes suddenly became very firm. Then he rushed forward into the sky. The black fog lingered in the circle, blocking his line of sight. He couldn't see very far. In this kind of place, Ji Yufei was very cautious. He landed on the ground from the sky. Catcher! As soon as Ji Yufei's feet touched the ground, he crushed a dry bone. The ground was covered with white bones. It was unknown how many creatures had been buried in this circle. Under the shroud of the black fog, these white bones extended all the way into the circle. He couldn't see the end of it. Seeing this situation, Ji Yufei had no choice but to be careful. Countless creatures had died here. It was no wonder that this place was filled with resentment and gathered yin qi. Roar. Less than 5 kilometers after Ji Yufei entered the death circle, a roar came from the front. A figure walked out of the black fog. Chapter 1692. The frightening ghost domain was a place where yin qi gathered. The yin qi here had existed for an unknown number of years. Even an expert like Ji Yufei felt a chill in his heart when he walked in such a place. The ground was covered with dried bones and yin qi lingered. Not a single blade of grass grew on the ground. It was like a different world compared to the lush vitality of the outside world. Could it be that this is also an ancient battlefield? Ji Yufei was very surprised that such a place suddenly appeared in the middle of the mountain. It was out of tune with the environment of the mountain. He had just entered the ghost domain for more than 10 miles when a strong death aura appeared in front of him. That death aura was rapidly approaching him. Soon, a figure silently walked out from the fog in front of him. Ji Yufei stopped in his tracks. In front of him was an evil corpse. Its fluffy yellow hair covered the face of this evil corpse. A pair of blood-red eyes flickered behind the withered yellow hair. A sinister and terrifying aura spread out from the evil corpse's body. The clothes on the evil corpse were tattered and almost completely rotten. The skin and flesh under the clothes were shriveled and tightly stuck to the bones. Ji Yufei discovered that there was a visible black aura lingering around this evil corpse. The evil corpse was very quiet. Its blood-red eyes were not focused and there was no spirit in them. It only stared at Ji Yufei motionlessly, as if it was an evil corpse that had not developed intelligence. Roar! Suddenly, the evil corpse let out a low roar. Like a wild beast, it suddenly pounced towards Ji Yufei. Swoosh! The evil corpse's hands suddenly straightened. Its skinny arms were like rotten wood, as if they could not be bent at all. Its 10 fingernails were several inches long and shiny black. They were like 10 small black swords that pierced towards Ji Yufei. This evil corpse's pounce was extremely fierce. The distance of more than 10 meters was covered in an instant. A gust of cold wind blew over, causing Ji Yufei to frown. Too slow. In Ji Yufei's eyes, the evil corpse's speed was like slow motion. Every movement of the evil corpse was captured by Ji Yufei in an instant. Ji Yufei leisurely punched out. On his right fist, there was no resplendent chi aura rushing out, nor was there any powerful martial path true power undulation. Bang! Catcher! Ji Yufei's fist directly smashed into the evil corpse's claws, shattering its bones and shattering its palms. Black corpse blood splattered everywhere. This kind of corpse blood contained corpse poison and yin qi, and it had a very strong corrosive power. If ordinary fays were to come into contact with this kind of corpse blood, their spirit qi would quickly be corroded, and they would turn into ordinary items. This kind of corpse blood was also the bane of flying swords. The true power on Ji Yufei's body surged, a layer of chi aura faintly appearing on his martial body. The corpse blood that splashed out did not even stain his clothes. He took a step forward and punched again. Bang! Catcher! The sound of bones breaking rang out once more. This time, Ji Yufei's punch went straight to the center and landed on the evil corpse's chest, shattering its sternum and causing its chest to cave in. This punch not only shattered the evil corpse's sternum, but also shattered all the bones in its body. Like a pile of mud, it softly fell to the ground. However, even after receiving such a powerful blow, the evil corpse still moved, wanting to stand up. At this time, Ji Yufei no longer looked at the evil corpse and continued to walk forward. Although this kind of evil creature was terrifying, in his eyes, it was not much different from an ant. Of course, if Ji Yufei's cultivation was also suppressed by the virtual Skyworld's law, the situation would be different. This evil corpse could definitely tear a cultivator in the awakening self-realm to pieces. Roar! In the depths of the ghost domain, roars and roars came from time to time. There were many powerful ghosts walking around, and the powerful death aura was vast and mighty, causing people's hearts to palpitate. The deeper Ji Yufei went, the stronger the yin aura around him became, and the stronger the evil creatures he encountered were. Bang! 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 Heavy footsteps came from the left. A huge monster quickly walked over. The yin aura dispersed, revealing this evil creature's ferocious head. This was an evil creature transformed from the corpse of a strange beast. Its entire body was filled with murderous aura. Half of its ferocious head was white bone, while the other half was flesh and blood. With a dragon's head and a Chaline's body, this was a strange beast that Ji Yufei had never seen before. It was incomparably powerful, far from what the evil corpse from before could compare to. This beast was 6 feet tall, and its 2 hind legs were large and thick. It stood on its hind legs and rushed towards Ji Yufei. Then, its 2 slightly thin front legs directly slammed down towards Ji Yufei. What is this thing? Ji Yufei couldn't help being startled when he saw this ferocious beast. He could sense that there were 2 different types of energy inside this ferocious beast. The essence energy contained within the beast's flesh and blood, as well as the energy of death. This was a half-corpse beast. The essence energy within its flesh and blood hadn't completely dissipated, resulting in such a strange state. The 2 forces interweaved within its body, causing its combat strength to greatly increase. You think I'm afraid of you? Ji Yufei once again punched upwards. It seemed like a casual punch, but it directly shattered the beast's 2 claws and sent it flying. He took a step forward, instantly catching up to the beast and stomped down. Bang! The huge beast was directly torn apart by Ji Yufei's stomp. Large amounts of blood rained down from the sky. This was the essence energy contained within the beast that hadn't dissipated yet. The beast was killed on the spot. Ji Fei was very curious as to why this beast would suddenly attack him. Thinking of this, Ji Fei's heart shook. He then walked in the direction of the beast. He followed the beast's footprints on the ground, walking for several li. A towering mound appeared in Ji Fei's line of sight. It was like a short mountain standing in the black mist, faintly discernible. This was a flat land. How could there be a short mountain in a flat land? This was completely out of place with the terrain of this region. When Ji Fei walked forward, he suddenly felt a dangerous aura. A gust of wind suddenly pounced down from above without any warning. Bang! Ji Fei didn't even think about it and directly punched upward. Gua! A strange cry rang out as a black shadow was sent flying by Ji Fei's punch. At this time, the mist ahead was blown away by the astral wind. A black stone tablet appeared in front of Ji Fei. The mound in front of him wasn't a short mountain at all. It was a huge tomb. Chapter 1693. A huge hill stood erect on the ground, giving off a strong sense of oppression. In front of the hill stood a stone tablet that was more than 10 jong tall. On the stone tablet, there were a few words written in bold calligraphy. It was a type of ancient godly script that had appeared since the beginning of time. No one in the current era could understand these godly inscriptions. Only a super antique from the era of legends would know what was written on the stone tablet. When Ji Fei arrived in front of the stone tablet, his eyes never left the ancient godly inscriptions on the stone tablet. Ji Fei was shocked. There was nothing special about the ancient godly inscriptions. Moreover, due to the passage of time, the ancient characters had become a little blurry. However, when Ji Fei saw the ancient characters, he could no longer look away. The ancient godly inscriptions on the stone tablet contained a trace of Daoist rhyme. The ancient characters were like bottomless whirlpools that sucked in Ji Fei's consciousness. Boom! Ji Fei only felt a tremor. Then, he felt the world spinning around him. In the next moment, he found himself in a pitch-black void. There was no sky or earth, it was as if he was in the void. What? Ji Fei's shock was no small matter. At this time, Ji Fei stood motionlessly in front of the stone tablet. It was as if his divine soul had left his body. No aura could be felt from his body. This was the divine soul leaving his body. In front of the stone tablet, Ji Fei was like a walking corpse. At this time, even his primordial spirit was sitting quietly in his Niwen palace. His essence, qi, and spirit had completely quietened down. Reading a novel, if someone were to attack him at this time, he would be in danger. However, the surroundings of the ancient tomb were very quiet. There were no ferocious beasts around. That was because the exotic beast from the ancient era that was killed by Ji Fei was entrenched in this region. That exotic beast was the ruler of this region. The vicinity of the ancient tomb was the beast's territory. Other ferocious beasts did not dare to come close. At this time, Ji Fei's divine soul entered a mysterious place. In the pitch-black void, there was no sky or earth. However, a trace of Daoist rhyme lingered in this place. Ji Fei sensed that this Daoist rhyme was definitely left behind by a supreme. In other words, the ancient godly inscriptions on the stone tablet were left behind by a supreme. Even after so many years, this Daoist rhyme did not disperse. Ji Fei immediately sat down cross-legged in the air and used his heart to comprehend the Daoist charm. One must know that this was a great fortune. A strand of Daoist charm left behind by a sovereign was equivalent to an ancient sovereign's inheritance. He tried to resonate with the Daoist rhyme in the air, but he found that it was very difficult. This was not something that could be done in a short period of time. He needed to comprehend it. Just as Ji Fei's divine soul entered a special state, the area 10,000 miles around the ancient ominous city was shrouded by a powerful aura. At this time, the ancient ominous city was still floating in the void. The ancient city walls were like an insurmountable mountain, blocking everyone's way. Ancient chariots appeared in the sky thousands of miles away from the ancient ominous city. The beasts that pulled the chariots were rarely seen in the human world. Such beasts could not be raised by ordinary forces. The beasts roared from time to time. On top of the chariots stood powerful cultivators. According to the flags on the chariots, one could tell that these cultivators came from different superforces. These were people from several camps. From time to time, treasures would rush out from the ancient ominous city, attracting these people. Some people even used the human sovereign divine weapon to attack the ancient city. However, the result was beyond everyone's expectations. A human sovereign divine weapon could not break through the ancient city. Moreover, this ancient city seemed to be nurturing a peerless evil force. This force was extremely terrifying, causing experts to be shocked. Could there be the corpse of a supreme in the city? Such a terrifying change reminded people of an ancient legend. According to legend, after a supreme died, his body would be indestructible and could coexist with heaven and earth. Such a corpse would turn into a zombie in a special place or for a special reason. Once the corpse of an ordinary person turned into a zombie, it would be very terrifying. Some people were buried in a place where yin energy gathered. Their bodies would not rot and they would turn into zombies. Once this kind of zombie was born, everything within 1,000 miles would be slaughtered. This zombie would suck the blood out of their bodies and kill them. If the corpse of an ordinary person turned into a zombie, it would cause chaos in an area, let alone the corpse of an extreme grade supreme. Once the corpse of an extreme grade supreme changed, it would be absolutely terrifying. If the corpse of a supreme really existed in the ancient ominous city, the consequences would be unimaginable. An incomparably evil aura came from the depths of the ancient city. The place was shrouded in a black mist. Even experts who had cultivated the divine eye could not see through the mist. Within the mist, there was a vague black shadow. Fellow Jew, what do you think? High up in the sky, a tall old man with a head full of white hair asked an old man in ancient armor. The old man in ancient armor was Zhu Huang, an ancient half-sage from the Zhu clan of the ancients. The armor that Zhu Huang was wearing was the ultimate trump card of the Zhu clan of the ancients, the human emperor armor. Daoist Jiang, you are too humble. How can you not see anything at this time? Zhu Huang smiled. An ancient city that even the human emperor divine weapon could not break through was already a problem. This was at least an ancient city of the same level as the human emperor divine weapon. Is there really a supreme divine treasure in the city? Jiang Xian's eyes flickered. A strong aura was emitted from his tall body, as if a hidden dragon had suddenly awakened. We will know after we break through this ancient city, old Zhu Huang said. The Zhu clan of the ancients had a good relationship with the Jiang clan of the ancients. Old Zhu Huang had a good relationship with an ancient half-sage of the Jiang clan, Jiang Xian. This time, after receiving the invitation from the Zhu clan of the ancients, Jiang Xian immediately brought the ultimate trump card of his clan and rushed here. The people from the Li clan of the ancients had not arrived yet. At this time, 3 major forces had appeared around the ancient ominous city. These 3 forces each occupied a side of the sky. The Zhu clan of the ancients, the Dongfang clan, and the 100 races of the southern wilderness. These 3 super forces were in a stalemate. No one dared to act rashly. Even the younger brother of the Black Tiger ancestor, who had a grudge against old Zhu Huang, did not make a move. No one knew the outcome of the battle in the mountains. Old man Zhu Huang and the White Tiger clan powerhouse didn't say anything either. However, the other cultivators were guessing that the 2 powerhouses couldn't do anything to each other. The atmosphere was very tense. Some people gradually lost their patience, while others could not hold it in any longer. Chapter 1694. In the sky outside the city, the 3 forces were confronting each other. No one was willing to act rashly. Once a battle of this level broke out, the consequences would be unpredictable. Granduncle, it's not good for us to continue like this. In the western sky, a figure stood in a chariot. It was a dark god of war who seemed to stand in the darkness forever. This person was ancient sage to be of the Dongfang clan. Wherever he stood, a cold aura lingered. At this time, next to ancient sage to be was a worried middle-aged cultivator. They were the weakest of the 3 forces. They also received news that the Li clan of the remote antiquity was coming to the virtual sky world. The Li clan of the remote antiquity was a very special clan among the forces of the ancient antiquity. This clan claimed to be the descendants of the supreme Tao ancestor, who once produced an invincible human sovereign. Such a clan possessed a heritage that the other forces of the ancient antiquity could not compare to. I hope the Zhao clan can arrive in time. Ancient sage to be also felt great pressure. Jiang Renwang of the Jiang clan of the remote antiquity had already arrived with the Jiang clan's human sovereign divine weapon. At this time, Jiang Renwang was standing together with Zhu Huang. The other party had 2 human sovereign divine weapons. He was no match for them at all unless the Zhao clan of the remote antiquity arrived in time. However, the Li clan of the remote antiquity was already on their way. The Zhu clan, the Jiang clan, and the Li clan. Once the 3 great clans of the clan of the ancients were united, they would be a force that could shake the entire human world of cultivation. Among the 4 clans of the remote antiquity, only the Zhao clan of the remote antiquity was allied with the Dongfang clan. When Madman Li arrives, we will immediately attack the city. On the other side, Elder Zhu Huang was extremely confident. With the 3 clans of the remote antiquity united, no force in the human world could compete with them. Unless those people took action, the combined power of the 3 clans of the remote antiquity was enough to sweep the entire cultivation world. Mph, why don't we kill that ancient sage to be first? Jiang Runwang's words were extremely cold. A chilling murderous aura spread from his body, causing the wild beasts that pulled the chariot to roar anxiously. Just as Jiang Runwang's murderous aura appeared, ancient sage to be felt a dangerous aura coming from the direction of the Zhu clan of the remote antiquity. Could it be that the 9-yin ancient half-sage's heart trembled? The other party was about to make a move. It seems necessary to chase away some kittens and puppies. Elder Zhu Huang nodded. The virtual sky world was originally opened by the Zhu clan of the Desolate Era after almost 100 years, but those guys from the Dongfang clan actually wanted to take advantage of it. It was necessary to let those guys know that it wasn't that easy to take advantage of them. Then let's do it. A strong will to fight erupted from Jiang Runwang's body. He took a step forward from the chariot and instantly traversed thousands of miles, appearing in front of the Dongfang family's camp. Boom! A powerful ancient semi-sage aura burst out from Jiang Runwang's body, causing the entire world to shake. All the disciples of the Dongfang family were sent flying by this extremely terrifying aura and were sent flying backwards. Only the 9-yin ancient half-saint could still stand on the war chariot. He was shocked and furious. He never expected the other party to be so decisive, about to take action as soon as killing intent arose. Apart from ancient half-sage Join, the other disciples of the Dongfang family were not prepared at all. Even the expert of the Dongfang family beside ancient half-sage Join's chariot was sent flying. The ancient semi-sage's powerful aura was not something that just anyone could resist. You what? I'm going to kill you. Jiang Renwang was extremely domineering. He stretched his hand forward and performed the life-killing technique. The huge hand split the sky and obliterated the 9-yin ancient half-saint. Hand of heaven. Ancient half-sage Join roared and also threw a palm forward. Countless Tao patterns emerged on his palm and a huge hand rushed out from his hand. Everywhere it passed, the void was silently annihilated. Boom! Jiang Runwang's white hair danced in the wind. His tall body stood still like a huge mountain. The killing technique he performed collided with ancient half-sage Join's hand of heaven. This was a fight between ancient semi-sages. Every move they made contained great power. All kinds of life-killing techniques were at their fingertips. As soon as they attacked, they pierced through the void between heaven and earth. When the 2 extremely powerful forces collided, a destructive storm swept out in all directions, causing the entire world to shake violently. The cultivation of such existences was not suppressed by the laws of heaven and earth in the virtual sky world. Both of them had divine tools on them, which allowed them to display their strength to the fullest. The 2 figures separated. The chariot under ancient half-sage Join's feet collapsed, and the beast that pulled the chariot turned into a mist of blood. What, aren't they going to attack this ancient city together? Why are they fighting? Many cultivators outside of the 3 great forces had also arrived. They were shocked to see the sudden outbreak of the battle. Some of them recognized the tall and brave old man. That's divine King Jiang, the ancient king of the Jiang clan. As one of the 4 great clans of the Clan of the Ancients, the Jiang clan of the Clan of the Ancients had a deep foundation. No one dared to look down on them, especially Jiang Renwang of the Jiang clan. Ever since he was born, he had never been defeated. This was very rare even among the ancient semi-sages of the 4 great clans of the Clan of the Ancients. It should be noted that in the distant past era, there were many strong cultivators. Sages did not disappear, and there were even traces of supreme venerables. Jiang Renwang's attack shocked everyone. Again, Jiang Renwang was incomparably powerful. He took another step forward and attacked ancient half-sage Join. Terrifying waves of divine power spread in all directions. Even the stars in the sky trembled. Jiang Renwang, others might be afraid of you, but I'm not. Ancient half-sage Join was furious. Jiang Renwang attacked without warning. There was no hatred between the Dongfang clan and the Jiang clan of the Clan of the Ancients, which made him inexplicably angry. The battle between ancient semi-sages erupted. Terrifying waves swept in all directions. Everyone had to retreat. The attack of an ancient semi-sage was enough to shake the world. Its power was so great that it could move mountains and drain seas. If one was too close and was affected, it would be unlucky. While Jiang Renwang and ancient half-sage Join were fighting, in the depths of the virtual sky world, in the ghost realm, in front of the great tomb, a figure stood motionless. This person was Ji Yu Fei. His spirit had left his body and entered a special place to comprehend the great path. His body was standing in front of the ancient monument. Ji Yu Fei's spirit sat cross-legged in the dark void. Ancient patterns of the great path appeared faintly around his body. His spirit resonated with the great path, and a spell was imprinted in his heart. Chapter 1695. Ji Yu Fei's spirit left his body and resonated with the Daoist rhyme on the stone tablet. He obtained a cultivation technique. This was a technique left behind by a supreme being, so it was extraordinary. A technique valued by an ancient supreme being was definitely extraordinary. This technique shocked Ji Yu Fei because it was actually one of the 9 secrets of Immortal Path. This secret technique was called returning to truth. Once it was used, it could return everything in the world to their original state. In the distant past, this secret technique was known to be able to break all kinds of divine abilities. No matter how monstrous your magic power was or how invincible your divine abilities were, as long as this secret technique was used, all magic power and divine abilities would be broken, and all power would be transformed into the most primitive spiritual aura of heaven and earth. Those who cultivated this secret technique of the Immortal Path could transform the opponent's power for their own use. This secret technique could transform the opponent's power into the most primitive spiritual aura of heaven and earth. Primitive spiritual aura of heaven and earth could be refined and absorbed by cultivators. Rumble. Just as Ji Yu Fei comprehended the secret technique of returning to truth, the entire dark void trembled. Then, Ji Yu Fei felt as if an invisible hand had struck his spirit out. Swoosh. Ji Yu Fei's spirit turned into a divine light and rushed out of the stone tablet, entering the space between Ji Yu Fei's eyebrows. When his spirit returned, Ji Yu Fei's whole body trembled. Light rushed out from the depths of his dull eyes, and his whole body became spirited. As Ji Yu Fei's dormant qi and blood circulated within his body, a powerful aura spread out from his body, causing the surrounding black mist to ripple. Swoosh. 2 beams of divine light shot out from Ji Yu Fei's eyes, as if they had been struck by lightning. I didn't expect this trip to the virtual sky world to have such a harvest. Ji Yu Fei's true force surged, and the Yuanshan in his Niwen palace seemed to have grown stronger. Divine halos revolved around his Yuanshan. The little person in his Niwen palace was no different from Ji Yu Fei. However, the aura of the little person was completely different from that of Ji Yu Fei. This was the nascent divinity of the immortal Tao. The little person was like a supreme immortal sovereign from the 9 heavens, sitting cross-legged in the air with his eyes closed. The aura of the immortal Tao was vast and mighty, and below the nascent divinity was a mass of primordial chaos. Within the primordial chaos, Various sceneries could be seen. This was the inner world that Jiyu Fei had cultivated. Through that layer of primordial energy, one would be able to enter Jiyu Fei's inner world. There were two inner worlds in Jiyu Fei's body. One of them was located in the Mudpill Palace, which was formed by the chaotic nascent embryo that was nurtured in the mountain and river cauldron. The other was in his Dantian. After Jiyu Fei killed the God Clan primogenitor of the Hell Path, he had refined the God Clan primogenitor's internal world. At that time, the primordial ancestor of the God Clan was the strongest existence in the entire Hell Dao. He was a mighty cultivator of the immortal Dao. The inner world refined by a mighty cultivator of the immortal Dao was naturally much better than that of Jiyu Fei's. The inner world in Jiyu Fei's Dantian was a divine land that was nourished by the divine spring of life and had immortal divine herbs as roots. Such a divine land was hard to come by even for supremes who had yet to achieve the Dao when they were young. As for the inner world in Jiyu Fei's Dantian, it grew with the improvement of his cultivation level. There was also the divine spring of life in the Dantian. These two inner worlds could provide Jiyu Fei with endless spiritual aura. Jiyu Fei didn't expect that he would be able to obtain the secret art of restoring truth. In this way, he was only one secret away from completing the 9 secrets of the immortal Dao. This was something that countless cultivators had dreamed of for countless years. It should be noted that ever since the Supreme Dao Ancestor created the 9 secrets of the immortal Dao, this secret art had been regarded as the supreme secret art of the immortal Dao. However, these 9 secret arts were no longer complete in ancient times. Even the descendants of the Dao Ancestor had only mastered a few secrets. The loss of the 9 secrets of the immortal Dao caused the Dao Ancestor's lineage to be suppressed by other forces. Countless years had passed, and the 9 secrets of the immortal Dao were likely to reappear on Jiyu Fei. Right now, Jiyu Fei had already obtained 8 of the 9 secrets of the immortal's Dao. With just one more secret, he would be able to make the 9 secrets of the immortal's Dao flawless. A flawless 9 secrets of the immortal's Dao was something that even an existence of the supreme level would covet. Jiyu Fei activated the secret art of restoring truth. A wave of immortal Dao mana immediately surged out from his Mudpill Palace, and the surrounding yin qi and ghost fog were drawn in. Under the effect of the secret art of restoring truth, the yin qi and ghost fog gradually transformed. Soon, spots of spiritual light appeared around Jiyu Fei's body. These spiritual lights then gathered between Jiyu Fei's eyebrows and entered his Mudpill Palace. It can actually be done. Jiyu Fei was moved. The surrounding yin qi and ghost fog could actually be transformed into spiritual aura. The secret art of restoring truth was really amazing. In this way, he could even use demonic aura. The Supreme Dao Ancestor was really too heaven-defying. He actually created the secret art of restoring truth that could use all the power in the world. Boom! At this moment, a loud noise suddenly came from afar. Then, a monstrous wave came from afar. This was an aura that could make all living things tremble. Is someone using the human emperor's divine weapon? Jiyu Fei stopped. All the spiritual lights around him were absorbed by his primordial spirit. Then, he soared into the sky and appeared in the sky above the ghost domain. That direction, after sensing the direction of the wave, Jiyu Fei couldn't help but be shocked. It was the direction of the ancient ominous city. Someone was attacking the city with the human emperor's divine weapon. He knew that those people would not give up the divine treasures in the ancient city so easily. After all, it was very likely to be a divine treasure of the extreme path. Because the ancient ominous city could withstand the attack of a fully awakened divine weapon, it was very likely to be an immortal divine city. Only the legendary supreme martial artist could refine this kind of immortal divine city. Roar! A tiger's roar was heard. A wave of pressure that was not weaker than the previous one suddenly burst out. In the distant sky, a white tiger seemed to appear. Its ferocious aura spread in all directions and spread throughout the entire virtual sky world. Another human emperor's divine weapon, but it doesn't seem to be one. It seems to be a divine weapon of the White Tiger clan. The 100 clans of the southern wilderness really have a deep foundation, Jiyu Fei said to himself. It wasn't a human emperor's divine weapon, but it could compete with it. Could it be a divine weapon refined by a supreme martial artist? Ji Yufei's expression became solemn. According to legend, the White Tiger clan was the descendant of the White Tiger, the supreme martial beast of the distant past. The blood of the White Tiger flowed through their veins. The supreme martial beast was a supreme existence comparable to the supreme martial artist. The power of a divine weapon refined by a supreme martial artist was infinitely close to that of a divine weapon of the extreme path. The experts of the 100 clans of the southern wilderness have also arrived. The virtual sky world is going to be lively. Ji Yufei's pupils flickered. He hadn't completely fallen out with the Zhu clan of the Ancients, but at this time, he no longer had a good impression of the Zhu clan of the Ancients. The Zhu family of the primordial antiquity only wanted to use him to open the gate of the void sky. Since the gate of the void sky was already open, he was no longer of any use to the Zhu family of the primordial antiquity. Although Ji Yufei knew that he was being used, he was also using them. The relationship between Ji Yufei and the Zhu clan of the primordial clan was one of mutual benefit. The moment the Zhu clan of the primordial clan discovered that Ji Yufei had an extreme Dao divine armament, they immediately wanted to make a move against him. The so-called old-timers of the clan of the Ancients were unreliable. Ji Yufei pondered for a while and flew directly in the direction of the ancient fierce city. If those people could really break through the ancient fierce city, he could also fish in troubled waters. At this time, a great battle broke out near the ancient ominous city. Jiang Renwang of the Jiang clan of the primordial antiquity had suddenly wanted to attack the ancient half-saint of 9 yin. At this time, Jiang Renwang and the ancient 7-step saint were already wounded, but they still didn't use their human emperor divine weapons. They wanted to defeat their opponents with their own strength. The ancient 7-step saint of 9 yin had the 9 yin godly physique, possessing talent that others couldn't hope to reach. However, Jiang Renwang's physical body was also a rare type of divine body. At this time, Jiang Renwang's body was surrounded by 5-colored divine light, as if he was wearing a 5-colored divine robe. The power of the 5 elements between heaven and earth was drawn over by him. This was the 5 elements divine body, innately close to the power of the 5 elements between heaven and earth. With a wave of his hand, he could attract the power of the 5 elements between heaven and earth. At this time, Old Man Zhu Huang of the Zhu clan of the primordial antiquity and the expert of the White Tiger clan fought. Buzz. The armor on Old Man Zhu Huang's body was vibrating. The god's will in the human emperor armor had completely awakened, and the terrifying might of the human emperor spread in all directions. Above the head of that expert from the White Tiger clan, there was a huge seal floating in the air. An incomparably overbearing aura spread out from that huge seal. This was the foundation of the White Tiger clan, the White Tiger sky-flipping seal. According to legend, this huge seal was refined by the supreme divine beast, the White Tiger. Although it wasn't an extreme divine weapon, it was infinitely close to it. The aura of the supreme divine beast made all the birds and beasts in the virtual sky world tremble. In the camp of the 100 clans of the southern desolate wilderness, the White Tiger clan and the Zhu clan of the primordial antiquity had a great enmity, but the Vermilion Bird clan and the Azure Dragon clan had no enmity with the Zhu clan of the primordial antiquity. Everyone thought that the 4 great ancient clans of the southern desolate wilderness were united and would advance and retreat together, but that wasn't the case. This was the trouble caused by the White Tiger clan, and the other ancient clans didn't want to get involved. After all, starting a war with the ancient clans wasn't a trivial matter. The 4 great ancient clans were clans that once produced invincible human emperors. No one dared to look down on the bloodline of the human emperor. The foundation left by the human emperor could definitely protect his clansmen. Now was the time of the great era. Starting a war too early wasn't a good thing. When Ji Yufei arrived nearby, he realized that these guys hadn't attacked the Millennium Ominous City yet, but they had already started fighting. Soon, he saw the origin of the 2 sides fighting. When did the Dongfang clan join hands with the White Tiger clan? Ji Yufei was very surprised. The ancient half-saint of 9 yin was fighting endlessly with a tall old man, while Old Man Zhu Huang was fighting with the expert of the White Tiger clan. Chapter 1696. In the area near the Millennium Fierce City, The people from the two camps fought fiercely, especially the old man Zhu Huang and the cultivators of the White Tiger clan, who actually used Renhuang-level divine weapons. Terrifying vibrations swept across the area. Everyone retreated far away. Nobody dared to get close, fearing that they would be affected by the Renhuang weapons. To know that those were Renhuang weapons. Nobody could handle them. Even holy weapons would not be enough. If they were hit by the Renhuang weapons, their holy weapons would shatter into pieces. Ji Yufei hid his qi and did not get close. Instead, he blended in with the other cultivators. The White Tiger clan and the Dongfang clan have joined forces. This way, the Zhu clan will not be able to gain any advantage, a chubby Taoist said. You are wrong. I heard that the Li clan of the Ancients is on their way. Someone had a different opinion. If the Li clan of the Ancients were here, the balance between the two groups would be broken. Even if the Dongfang clan and the White Tiger clan joined forces, they would not be able to change anything. I heard that the Zhao clan of the Ancients is here as well, a tall and skinny middle-aged cultivator with a sallow face said. Hearing this, everyone gasped. Were all four clans of the Ancients coming? Was the war going to start so early? The appearance of a great era would definitely be accompanied by chaos. Everyone would be fighting for the opportunity to become a saint. The war was unavoidable, but it would not happen too early. In the history of the world of cultivation, whenever a great era appeared, the world of cultivation would welcome a period of prosperity. However, behind the prosperity, there would be chaos and danger. Every time a great era appeared, it would decline. In the end, the entire world of cultivation would be in turmoil. All forces would fight for the opportunity to become a saint. Therefore, blood would flow like a river. Countless talented people would die on the path to becoming a saint. The holy road was destined to be a path built with flesh and blood. Boom! The two divine weapons clashed against each other, causing the entire space to tremble violently. Old man Zhu Huang and that White Tiger expert were both flung backwards. Haha, I did not expect this place to be so lively. Just at this moment, an elderly voice rang out as a figure appeared in the horizon. He then strode through the void and walked over step by step. When Ji Yufei saw that person, his pupils involuntarily shrank. This was an old man, an expert who was not affected by the laws of this world. Madman Li, come and help me. When Jiang Renwang saw the old man, he was pleasantly surprised. The Li family from the primordial antiquity had finally arrived, and the person who had come was a rare super antique of the Li family. The newcomer wore a sloppy Daoist robe, and every step he took would instantly cross a distance of several hundred kilometers. His speed was so fast that even Ji Yufei couldn't help but be secretly alarmed. It's Big Guy Jiang's voice. This kid actually arrived earlier than me. After hearing Jiang Renwang's voice, the old man's cloudy eyes immediately emitted rays of light. His entire aura became much stronger. I was wondering who it was. So it's the Dongfang family's celestial yin physique. No wonder even Big Guy Jiang has fallen into a bitter battle. The newcomer quickly understood the situation in front of him. Hey, isn't that the White Tiger sky-turning seal of the White Tiger clan? The old man was knowledgeable, and as soon as he arrived, he saw through the background of the Dongfang family and the White Tiger clan. Especially the White Tiger sky-turning seal of the White Tiger clan. Even Elder Zhu Huang, wearing the human emperor's armor, found it hard to suppress the White Tiger sky-turning seal. This is bad. Seeing the old man's arrival, the Zhouyin half-saint and the White Tiger clan's expressions changed. The Li family of the primordial antiquity had arrived earlier than the Zhao family. The old man's appearance had broken the balance of power between the two sides. That ancient city is suspected to be the immortal city of the primordial antiquity. At this time, the old man's gaze fell on the ancient city that was floating in the sky 1,000 kilometers away. With his eyesight, he could naturally see that the ancient city was not ordinary. Let's deal with these people first. Jiang Renwang spoke again. His right shoulder had been hit by the Zhouyin half-saint. His flesh was instantly mangled, and his bones were almost shattered. The ancient half-saint's blood splattered everywhere. At the same time, Jiang Renwang kicked the Join half-saint's abdomen, sending him flying thousands of meters away. A trace of blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth. This was a battle between the divine body of extreme yin and the divine body of 5 elements. Jiang Renwang of the Jiang family of the primordial antiquity and the Join half-saint of the Dongfang family seemed to be equally matched. Neither could truly suppress the other. Neither of them used the human emperor's divine weapon. This kind of battle was even more dangerous. You scoundrel. You really live up to your reputation. Jiang Renwang's bones and muscles shook. The divine power of 5 elements quickly circulated in his body, and the wound on his shoulder quickly healed. In just a few breaths, his injury had completely recovered. Scoundrel. The Join half-saint's eyes turned red with anger when he heard Jiang Renwang's words. Jiang Renwang had kicked him in the abdomen, and his internal organs had almost flipped over. The Join half-saint's injuries were not light. However, under the circulation of the divine power of extreme yin, his injury also rapidly healed. The physical injuries of an existence at this level were negligible. No matter how serious the injuries were, they could be healed in an instant. The Join half-saint's physical body was extremely strong. As long as his primordial spirit was not destroyed, his physical body would not be destroyed. It was very difficult to kill such an existence. One had to use a special method to destroy his primordial spirit. Both of them knew that once they started fighting, they would not stop until one of them died. I'm going to kill you. The Join half-saint was furious. He was like a god of war standing in the darkness. The divine power of extreme yin surged from his body, and the void where he was standing became pitch black. Clang! The sound of a sword rang out from the Join half-saint's body. Then, a water-blue sword light rushed out from his body and slashed towards Jiang Renwang. The cold sword qi filled the air. This was the attack of the divine sword of extreme yin. The sword qi of extreme yin instantly soared up to thousands of meters. It was like a heavenly sword, as if it could split the world in half. A powerful saint-level aura appeared between the sky and the earth. The Join half-saint had only used the divine weapon that he had refined when he was a sage. He did not use the ultimate trump card of the Dongfang family, the Emperor's seal. Buzz. Facing the furious attack of the Join half-saint, Jiang Renwang had to take it seriously. A divine bell rushed out from the top of his head, vibrating with invisible sound waves to resist the dazzling sword light that fell from the sky. Clang! The divine bell rang. Countless Tao inscriptions appeared on the body of the divine bell. The divine bell rushed up and collided with the divine sword qi of extreme yin, shattering the sword light. At the same time, the invisible sound from the divine bell attacked the Join half-saint. Chapter 1697. The battle between the divine body of 5 elements of the Jiang family of the clan of the ancients and the godly body of Taiyin from the Dongfang family was earth-shattering, shocking everyone. These 2 divine bodies had appeared before in the history of the world of cultivators. When the divine body of 5 elements reached the great accomplishment stage, it would be the divine man of 5 elements. However, not everyone could reach the great accomplishment stage. However, in the distant past, the divine man of 5 elements had indeed appeared. Such an existence was unimaginably powerful and could even challenge a supreme being. Jiang Renwang of the Jiang family was once a sage. However, his cultivation had fallen from the sage realm. Even so, his combat strength was still heaven-defying. The godly body of Taiyin was also extraordinary. In the desolate era, there was once a sovereign of Taiyin who was comparable to a Ren Huang. Of course, that sovereign of Taiyin had nothing to do with the Dongfang family. Clang! The divine bell of 5 elements rang and emitted the divine sound of the great path. It turned into the art of life and death and attacked the ancient half-saint of 9 yin. Countless Tao patterns appeared on the bell, connecting with the heaven and earth and drawing in the endless essence of the 5 elements. Roar! Ancient half-sage 9 yin let out a furious roar as he was sent flying by a soundless sound wave. The clothes on his upper body were torn apart, and his muscles were covered in hideous and terrifying cracks. Damn you, Jiang Renwang! The ancient half-saint of 9 yin suffered a great impact. His godly body of Taiyin was almost shattered. Blood seeped out of his ears and his spiritual soul was shaken. He almost fell from the sky. He was shocked and angry. The sovereign of the Jiang family was far more powerful than he had imagined. Moreover, his opponent also had a divine body that was naturally close to the five elements. Even those who were watching from afar were affected by the divine sound of the great path from the divine bell of five elements. Many of them fell from the sky. Up in the sky, Jiu Fei, who was mixed in with the rogue cultivators, was also shocked. This kind of sound was definitely a terrifying art of sound. If he was hit by it, even his soul would be destroyed. The ancient half-saint of 9 yin was extremely powerful. As an ancient half-saint with the godly body of Tai Yin, Jiang Runwang's attack only injured him but not killed him. Buzz. Ancient sage-to-be Join shook his divine sword. Dazzling sword light rushed out of his body and turned into sword chi of the great path. The sword chi cut through the void and instantly crossed the violent void, heading straight for Jiang Renwang. This was the sword chi unleashed by the half-step Saint Jiu, and it contained the power of the great Tao. If he was struck by it, even Jiang Renwang would be in danger of being killed. Jiang Renwang could not afford to be careless. Clang. The five elements divine bell hovered above Jiang Renwang's head. His entire body radiated with the five elements divine light. Within the divine light, the five elements Tao patterns were faintly discernible. He was like a supreme five elements divine being as he rushed forward. A terrifying saint's might filled the air, shocking everyone to the extreme. Existences like them wouldn't be suppressed by the laws of heaven and earth in the virtual sky world, so they could display their fighting prowess to their heart's content. Jiang Renwang was extremely domineering. He walked in the void, and with every step he took, a sword light was crushed. After 9 steps, he had already crushed 9 tie-in sword lights. Seeing this scene, the half-step Saint Jiu Yin was extremely shocked. His opponent actually crushed his sword lights and rushed toward him. This was too fierce. He knew very well how powerful his sword lights were, but no matter how powerful they were, they couldn't stop Jiang Renwang, who seemed to have transformed into a five elements divine being. Kill. Jiang Renwang let out a furious roar. His towering figure was like an ancient sacred mountain pressing down on the 9 yin ancient sage-level saint. The mighty divine might caused the entire area to tremble. Although he didn't use the Renhuang divine weapon, the fighting prowess Jiang Renwang displayed was enough to intimidate all the cultivators present. Even the half-step Saint Jiu Yin found it hard to resist such a fighting prowess. Damn it, you're forcing me to fight with my life on the line. The half-step Saint Jiu Yin knew that Jiang Renwang really wanted to kill him. Thoughts flashed through his mind, and soon, his expression became extremely determined. Phut! The half-step Saint Jiu Yin screamed and spat a mouthful of blood at the Tai-Yin divine sword in front of him. This mouthful of blood landed on the Tai-Yin divine sword and entered it. Buzz! After the Tai-Yin divine sword absorbed the mouthful of blood, it immediately vibrated. The great path seal in the divine sword was instantly awakened. It was as if a real sage had suddenly appeared in the world. The sword chi that erupted from the Tai-Yin divine sword was so powerful that it made everyone's spiritual soul tremble. This was the power of a sage. Everyone felt a chill down their spine, as if they were being pointed at by countless divine weapons. They broke out in a cold sweat. In the face of this power, everyone felt how weak they were. Finally, they're getting serious. Seeing this, Jiu Fei was secretly shocked. These half-step saints were really extraordinary. If it was an ordinary half-step saint, it would be impossible for them to completely awaken the sacred weapon in such a short time. Of course, the Tai-Yin divine sword was a sacred weapon that the half-step Saint Jiu Yin refined himself when he was still a sage. Now that he had spat out his blood, the Tai-Yin divine sword had no choice but to awaken. At this time, the old Taoist from the Li family of the ancients did not make a move. He only watched from the side. If the old Taoist also made a move, the half-step Saint Jiu Yin would definitely not be a match. However, the old Taoist seemed to care about his identity and did not want to join forces with Jiang Renwang to fight against the half-step Saint Jiu Yin. The old Taoist, who was called Crazy Li by Jiang Renwang, also had the arrogance of an ancient half-step saint. After Join ancient sage-to-be spat out his blood essence, the tie-in divine sword immediately gave off an unprecedentedly powerful sword chi wave. Many divine patterns of the Great Path appeared on the divine sword, activating the power of the Great Path. Go! The ancient sage-to-be Join pointed with his finger and the tie-in divine sword immediately flew towards Jiang Renwang. The terrifying sword chi fluctuated in all directions. Even 1,000 miles away, one could feel the chilling aura. Let's go all out. I'm not afraid of you. Jiang Renwang bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of blood on the 5 elements divine bell. Buzz. The divine bell vibrated, and circles of visible ripples spread from the divine bell. At this moment, the divine bell had completely awakened. Using the essence blood as a guide, the divine weapon could be instantly awakened. This was the advantage of the divine weapons refined by the half-step saints. If it were other half-step saints, they would definitely not be able to completely awaken the divine weapon. 2 terrifying saint-level powers appeared in the sky. Jiang Renwang and the half-step saint Jiyu Yin both used their trump cards, and the saint-level wave was vast and mighty. The spectators in the distance kept retreating. No one could withstand this kind of pressure. Kill! Kill! Jiang Renwang and the half-step saint Jiyu Yin roared at the same time, and then directly made their moves. The 5 elements divine bell emitted a boundless divine light, and the terrifying sound of the Great Path shook the world. The tie-in divine sword also emitted the strongest sword radiance. The 2 fully awakened divine weapons instantly collided. Chapter 1698. The battle between Jiang Renwang and the ancient half-saint of Join could be considered a saint-level battle to some extent. It should be known that both of them were once saints. Even though their cultivation levels had dropped, they had once stood at the same height. Ordinary half-saints could not compare with them. Those who were not saints would never know how powerful and terrifying saints were. Boom! The earth and sky shook. The entire land and the void instantly turned into nothingness. Everything was destroyed. The 2 fully awakened holy weapons collided fiercely. Buzz! The divine sword of Yin vibrated and emitted an unprecedentedly powerful sword light. The sword chi spread in all directions, causing all living creatures within a radius of 100,000 miles to tremble. Clang! The 5 elements divine bell rang. The power of the 5 elements was vast and mighty. The divine sound of the Great Path spread out. Some rogue cultivators who were close to the battle immediately fell from the sky. Some people's physical bodies were not damaged at all, but their spiritual souls were shattered by the murderous sound of the Great Path from the 5 elements divine bell. Even if some people did not die, they suffered a great impact. More than half of their cultivation went down the drain. Their foundations were destroyed by the divine sound of the Great Path. Roar! Someone roared in despair. They did not expect to end up like this. The divine sound of the Great Path from the 5 elements divine bell was indeed terrifying. Even Ji Yu Fei felt his spiritual soul shaking. 5 or 6 of the rogue cultivators beside Ji Yu Fei fell from the sky on the spot. Seeing that it was impossible for them to survive, the rest of them were terrified and ran for their lives as far away as they could. Of course, Ji Yu Fei also retreated with these people. At this time, he still chose to hide. A battle of this level was not something he could withstand. The ancient half-saint was extremely powerful. After the holy weapons were completely awakened, it was equivalent to the arrival of a saint. In front of the true power of a saint, Ji Yu Fei knew very well that he could not compete with such power. Although he had the divine weapons of the Great Path, they could not be used casually. At this time, Jiang Renwang and the ancient half-saint of Join were both sent flying. When the 2 fully awakened saint weapons collided with each other, the power that erupted was far too great. Even though they were wielders of saint weapons, they were still sent flying. The stars in the sky shook as if they were about to fall from the heavens. These 2 bastards. The old Daoist from the Li clan cursed. As if someone had stepped on his tail, he leaped high into the air and ran away. This guy's speed was simply too fast. In an instant, he disappeared without a trace, evading the terrifying destructive power that swept out. Nothing was left of the region within 1,000 miles. A huge hole had been punched through the sky, and even the primal chaos energy had been blasted out. If it weren't for the fact that the virtual sky world was a world created by a supreme being, such a strike would have shattered it long ago. It wouldn't have ended up like this. Rumble. Right at this moment, an incomparably shocking rumble rang out in the starry skies. The battle between Old Man Zhu Huang and the powerhouses of the White Tiger clan had also reached its climax. The aura of the human emperor's divine weapon enveloped the entire virtual sky world. It was an existence infinitely close to that of a divine weapon of the extreme path. It was as if the human emperor had arrived, intimidating the entire world. Ancient human emperors were invincible existences who could challenge supreme beings of the extreme path. This kind of aura was much more powerful than that of a divine weapon. Everyone felt a great pressure, and even the several restricted areas in the virtual sky world quieted down. Who could resist the power of a human emperor? Ji Yufei was also shocked. The several divine weapons of the extreme path in his body were all restless. They sensed the fluctuations of the human emperor's divine weapon and showed signs of awakening. This wasn't a good thing. With Ji Yufei's current cultivation level and strength, he simply couldn't control a fully awakened divine weapon of the extreme path. In particular, Ji Yufei had more than one divine weapon of the extreme path. Ji Yufei had to mobilize the power of heaven and earth inside to isolate the aura of the outside world. In this way, the divine weapon of the extreme path, which showed signs of awakening because of the human emperor's divine weapon, gradually quieted down. Elder Zhu Huang and the cultivator of the White Tiger clan were fighting with all their might. In the starry sky, stars were constantly being destroyed, and the whole starry sky was shaking. It was extremely terrifying. The cultivator of the White Tiger clan had the supreme divine weapon of the White Tiger clan, White Tiger Sky-Flipping Seal. According to legend, this was a divine weapon refined by a supreme divine beast. Only this kind of supreme divine weapon could compete with the human emperor's divine weapon. Are these guys done yet? An old voice sounded next to Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei turned around and couldn't help but be shocked. That person was the old Daoist from the Li family of the remote antiquity. This old Daoist ran back at some point and appeared next to Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei was extremely shocked. With his cultivation level and strength, he was actually forced to his side without realizing it. This could only mean one thing: the other party was much stronger than him. Martial body of the human race. When the old Daoist saw Ji Yufei clearly saw a flash of light in the old Daoist's eyes. It was as if he had no secrets in the eyes of this old Daoist. The old Daoist's gaze was terrifying, as if he could see through everyone. Greetings, senior. When the surrounding cultivators saw this old Daoist, they were surprised and overjoyed. They quickly greeted the old Daoist with a respectful attitude, not daring to show the slightest bit of disrespect. The people of the Li family of the remote antiquity, no matter who they were not to be underestimated. To know that the Li family of the remote antiquity was different from the other clans. Legend has it that there were supremes and human emperors from this branch. In other words, the Li family of the remote antiquity had the inheritance of both supremes and human emperors. This kind of foundation was far too deep and profound. However, when everyone was bowing to the old Daoist, Ji Yufei didn't say anything. He didn't bow to the old Daoist like everyone else. This little guy is not bad. The old Daoist looked at Ji Yufei and couldn't help but nod. Human cultivators were unyielding warriors who would not bow down to others easily. Cultivators had to maintain the determination to move forward bravely and never admit defeat. In fact, it was the same for other cultivators. The state of mind was important. Once one state of mind was lost, one would be crippled and would no longer be able to move forward bravely. They would lose the right to become supremes. It was very difficult to become a supremes, but it wasn't impossible. The battle continued. Jiang Renwang and the Join ancient half-saint both held their holy weapons as they fought. The power of the holy weapons continued to be released, causing the sky to fall and the earth to crack. Just as the battle was in a stalemate, a group of people appeared in the sky and quickly approached. An extremely powerful aura engulfed the entire area. Has the Zhao family finally arrived? At this time, The old Daoist from the Li family of the remote antiquity also became serious. The Zhao family of the remote antiquity had finally arrived. 9 auras filled the air. These were the elites of the Zhao family of the remote antiquity. Every one of them emitted an extremely dangerous aura, and every one of them was extremely powerful. Especially the young cultivator in the lead. This young cultivator's body was filled with the aura of the divine path. He was a half-saint and extremely powerful. The people of the Zhao family of the remote antiquity were shocked by the current situation. Jiang Renwang of the Jiang family and the Zhouyin ancient half-saint of the Dongfang family were fighting. What's going on? The people of the Zhao family were bewildered. The mighty pressure from the sky almost pushed them down. They actually used Renhuang divine weapons. Aren't they afraid of destroying the virtual sky world? The young cultivator in the lead of the Zhao family muttered to himself. The battle in the sky was extremely terrifying. Powerful auras kept erupting and even the stars were collapsing. Although Elder Zhu Huang was wearing Renhuang armor, it was still difficult for him to suppress the White Tiger sky-flipping seal of the White Tiger clan. Although the people of the Zhao family of the remote antiquity had arrived, they didn't make a move. Although the Zhao family of the remote antiquity and the Dongfang family were allies, it didn't mean that the Zhao family was willing to become enemies with the Zhu family, the Li family, and the Jiang family for the Dongfang family. The people of the Zhao family and the Li family were watching. Jiang Renwang and the Zhouyin ancient half-saints' cultivation and strength were about the same. It was difficult for either of them to suppress the other. In the end, both of them would definitely suffer. Just when everyone thought that Jiang Renwang and the Zhouyin ancient half-saint would both suffer, a white figure appeared silently. When they saw this person, everyone was extremely shocked. It's him. When Ji Yufei saw this person, he was also stunned. He didn't expect this person to also come to the virtual sky world. Such a person had long been invincible in the world. The age of darkness has not arrived yet. All of you, stop. The newcomer was very powerful. He directly rushed between Jiang Renwang and the Zhouyin ancient half-saint. That person immediately threw a punch at the 5 elements divine bell, sending it flying away. A fist mark was left on the 5 elements divine bell. What? All the cultivators who witnessed this scene were dumbfounded. That was a fully awakened divine tool, but it was smashed away by a barehanded punch. This scene was too shocking. In the next moment, that person struck out with his palm and slapped away the great yin divine sword that was piercing towards Jiang Renwang. The newcomer's strength was unimaginably strong. He was able to resist a fully awakened divine weapon with his physical body and was unharmed. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it. Swish. The person took a step and directly entered the starry sky. Soon, the starry sky calmed down. This person was too strong. He could even ignore the Renhuang divine weapon. The battle was stopped by one person. This was really beyond everyone's expectations. If you want to take back the Renhuang divine weapon, come to the Ghost Palace of Fengju to find me. The person took away the Renhuang armor and the White Tiger sky-flipping seal. Then, he directly left without stopping. His voice came from afar. That person is. There was no one who wasn't shocked, because this person was truly too powerful, and his background was not small at all. Chapter 1699. The laws of heaven and earth in the virtual sky world were suppressed by the power of the human emperor's divine weapon, and all the cultivators in the virtual sky world could recover some of their cultivation and strength. Everyone soared into the sky and fled into the distance. Above the starry sky, the terrifying aura of the human emperor quickly faded. The newcomer was extremely powerful. He could actually fight against the human emperor's divine weapon and took it away. Ghost Emperor, Old Man Zhu Huang and the expert of the White Tiger clan were shocked to the extreme. This person was too powerful, so powerful that he could ignore the existence of the human emperor's divine weapon. After the 2 divine weapons were taken away, the intimidating pressure disappeared. The suppressed laws of heaven and earth began to recover, and the powerful power of the law began to operate. All the cultivators who entered the virtual sky world, if they didn't have any holy tools, felt a suppressive force on their bodies, and their cultivation was quickly suppressed. Some cultivators standing in the void had to fall to the ground. Those with powerful cultivation could still use the power of magic weapons to fly in the void, but their speed was very slow. They couldn't fly thousands of miles in one go. Powerful cultivators could still use their own strength to fly in the air. It should be known that powerful cultivators had already touched the Tao. Powerful cultivators who had already reached the Tao-severing realm, even if they entered the virtual sky world, couldn't have their cultivation suppressed to the awakening realm. Some powerful cultivators could even exert the battle prowess of an immortal. I didn't expect him to be alarmed. Ji Yufei looked in the direction where Ghost Emperor Fengju disappeared and was silent for a long time. Every time Ghost Emperor Fengju appeared, he gave him an extremely shocking feeling. Whether it was the appearance of the devil ancestor in the Northern Territory, or the turmoil of the heavenly ruins, or the current virtual sky world, Ghost Emperor Fengju was invincible. In the entire virtual sky world, no one was qualified to be his opponent. Has he already become a saint? Many people had this question in their hearts. Even the ancient semi-saints thought that Ghost Emperor Fengju still maintained his peak cultivation and battle prowess. Ghost Emperor Fengju was undoubtedly one of the most powerful beings in the human realm. In the history of cultivation, the great eras that were incomparably prosperous had happened more than once. However, every great era would experience dark chaos in the later stages of the great era. In order to become a saint, or even a paragon, all of the powerful experts would go crazy. There was only one paragon, and some of the geniuses with aspirations of becoming a paragon would fight over it. In a great battle of life and death, they would defeat their opponents one by one, and then stand at the peak of all living things, becoming the paragon of the 3 realms and 6 Taos. From Ghost Emperor Plentiful Do's words, Ji Yufei knew that an existence like Ghost Emperor Plentiful Do had foreseen the coming of the Dark Ages. However, these people did not want the dark times to arrive so soon. If Ghost Emperor Fengju didn't come to stop them, Old Man Zhu Huang and the White Tiger Clan's warrior would certainly use their Renhuang-level divine weapons to fight to the death. Jiang Renhuang of the Jiang clan of the remote antiquity and the 9-yin ancient half-saint of the Dongfang clan were also fighting to the death. There was no guarantee that there wouldn't be any casualties in a battle like this. As long as there were casualties, the situation would spiral out of control, and a storm of blood would erupt between the ancient desolate factions. It should be known that the ancient desolate factions were all super forces. They were the inheritances of the Renhuang, and they had an incomparably deep heritage. If a war broke out between such factions, the consequences would be unimaginable. At that time, many people would die, and it might even trigger the Dark Ages to come earlier. As Ji Yufei thought of this, he unknowingly broke out in a cold sweat. In his mind, the scene of people being plunged into an abyss of misery and suffering had already appeared. At that time, there would really be mountains of corpses. The Renhuang divine weapons were taken away by Ghost Emperor Plentiful Do, but Old Man Zhu Huang and the White Tiger Clan's warrior didn't stop there. They were still fighting in the starry sky. On the ground, Jiang Renhuang and the 9-yin ancient half-saint were still facing each other. Jiang Renhuang, you've gone too far. The 9-yin ancient half-saint's cold voice rang out. He was really angry. He knew that he had no enmity with the Jiang clan of the remote antiquity, but this Jiang Renhuang wanted to fight him. It was too much. Mate, since we're not friends, then we're enemies. What's the point of saying so much? Jiang Renhuang sneered. These old antiques had lived for countless years and had experienced many things. In their eyes, strength was the most important thing. In the world of cultivation, no one would be reasonable. The truth that cultivators believed in was that whoever had the hardest fist would be the one in the right. This was a world where strength determined everything. Good, very good. The 9-yin ancient half-saint's cold aura became even stronger. The void he stood in was pitch black, as if he would always be standing in the darkness. Come. The 5 elements divine bell floated above Jiang Renhuang's head. The sound of the grand Tao resonated, and circles of visible ripples spread out from the divine bell. The aura of the 5 elements' great Tao was vast and mighty. Half-saints, after all, were stained with the word saint. Their understanding of the grand Tao was beyond the reach of others. Especially those ancient half-saints, like Jiang Renwang and the 9-yin ancient half-saint. In the distant past, they had become saints. Such existences weren't something ordinary half-saints could compare to. Very good. The 9-yin ancient half-saint's battle intent was like a rainbow. The celestial yin divine sword in his hand emitted a dazzling sword light. A cold aura spread out from the divine sword, causing the surrounding temperature to drop rapidly. All right, let's stop here. At this moment, an old voice was heard. The old Daoist from the Li family of the ancients walked over. This old Daoist was very different from before. At this moment, the old Daoist seemed to have become a different person. His body was surrounded by Dao rhymes. Halos danced around his body. With every step he took, Dao patterns would appear under his feet. Although the old Daoist was still wearing the same old Daoist robe, no one dared to look down on him at this moment. He was like a supreme deity from the 9 heavens. Even Jiang Renwang and the 9-yin ancient half-saint were shocked as he walked over. This old man seems to be even more monstrous than Jiang Renwang and the 9-yin old ghost. Ji Fei hid in the distance and saw this scene. He was also shocked. This old Daoist that Jiang Renwang called Madman Li was incredible. Seeing the old Daoist walking over, even someone as strong as Jiang Renwang couldn't help but change his expression. To think that you've taken that step again. The 9-yin ancient half-saint was shocked as well. He knew how difficult that step was. He had cultivated for countless years and only managed to recover his cultivation base to the half-saint realm. However, this old man from the Li family of the ancients had obviously taken a step further than them. Although it was just a step, the difference was like heaven and earth. A demi-saint. He's a demi-saint that's even closer to becoming a sage than a half-saint. Someone exclaimed. Chapter 1700. The old Daoist from the Li clan of the desolate antiquity was incomparably domineering. His cultivation and strength as an ancient quasi-saint intimidated everyone. This old Daoist was one step ahead of the likes of Join and Jiang Renwang. An ancient quasi-saint wasn't someone ordinary quasi-saints could compare to. The old Daoist was like a saint descending from the heavens, causing everyone to feel a great pressure. Even Jiang Renwang, the Join half-saint, and the others didn't dare to act presumptuously in front of the old Daoist. They were all well behaved and didn't dare to do anything. The old Daoist had successfully gathered all the experts here. Even the 4 ancient clans of the southern wasteland couldn't help but lower their heads. In the world of cultivation, strength was everything. Whoever was strong would have the final say. The weak would only end up being ordered around by the strong. Resistance was fine, but once the strong were angered, blood would flow like rivers. This was especially true for an ancient quasi-saint like the old Daoist. If they provoked such an existence, the consequences would be unimaginable. The 4 great clans of the desolate antiquity, the 4 ancient clans of the southern wasteland, and many vagrant cultivators. Such a force was powerful enough to cause one's heart to palpitate. It was enough to sweep through everything. No one expected things to turn out this way. This time, the Li clan of the desolate antiquity would be the one to benefit from it. Many people were angry but didn't dare to say anything. No one dared to challenge the Li clan's ancient quasi-saint at this time. One had to know that doing so was simply courting death. The antiques from the superpowers had lived for countless years. Such existences would cherish their lives even more. They wouldn't put themselves in danger so easily. Seems like there's a chance of success if we unite all the major powers. Ji Fei didn't participate. He observed from afar. The Zhu clan's Mortal King armor and the White Tiger clan's Heaven Flipping Seal had been taken away by Ghost Emperor Fengju. The Zhu clan of the desolate antiquity had lost the Mortal King divine weapon and the Li clan's Heaven Flipping Seal. As for the White Tiger clan, because Ghost Emperor Fengju took away the Heaven Flipping Seal, they had no choice but to lower their heads. They didn't want to offend the old Daoist from the Li clan of the desolate antiquity. These ancient quasi-saints were well aware of the old Daoist's background. In the distant past, this guy was a ruthless character. He had once slaughtered his way into the demon realm and killed thousands of Li, shocking the world. That was when the old Daoist's nickname of Madman Li began to be called. The ancient ominous city floated in front of them, emitting an aura of death that made people's hearts palpitate. In the city, there was a tall demonic shadow looming, like a supreme demon that could kill its way out of the ancient city at any time. What's going on? How could an undying god city be occupied by demons? Everyone was incomparably shocked. Something inauspicious must have happened in this immortal city. Otherwise, there wouldn't be such a scene. A terrifying aura constantly emanated from the depths of the ancient city. A layer of grayish-brown mist floated above the entire ancient city. One could vaguely see blurry figures within the hazy mist. Boom! A terrifying aura that could shake the heavens suddenly erupted. A huge seal rushed out from the ancient half-holy of Nine Yin's body and floated above his head. A powerful Renhuang aura spread in all directions. Countless ancient patterns of the way emerged on the seal, interweaving with the truths of the great path of heaven and earth. In the virtual sky world, the laws of the world were once again suppressed. Everyone felt that their power of the great path was rapidly recovering. Many people immediately recovered their magical power and magic power. Are they going to make a move? It was the Renhuang seal of the Dongfang family. Just now, when the ancient half-holy of Nine Yin fought against Jiang Renhuang, he didn't use this Renhuang divine weapon. At this time, the ancient half-holy of Nine Yin had no choice but to use this Renhuang divine weapon. That madman Li was not that easy to fool. At the same time, an ancient mirror emitting a faint divine light flew out from the camp of the Zhao family of the ancients. That's the mirror of heavenly path. Someone exclaimed. They recognized the ancient mirror. The Zhao family of the ancients was also a Renhuang family. The Renhuang divine weapon of the Zhao family was the mirror of heavenly path. It was a Renhuang divine weapon left by the ancestor of the Zhao family, the Renhuang of heavenly path. Buzz. The mirror of heavenly path rumbled. The spiritual chi of the world in the whole world was madly gathering toward the ancient mirror. The god in the ancient mirror was awakening and absorbing the spiritual chi of the world. On the other side, under the control of the ancient half-holy of Nine Yin, the Renhuang divine weapon was also absorbing the spiritual chi of the world in the surrounding area. As soon as the two divine weapons of the Shun King appeared, the divine power of the Renhuang divine weapon immediately spread throughout the virtual sky world. Hundreds of millions of creatures trembled, and several forbidden areas in the virtual sky world became quiet. Roar. A terrifying roar came from the ominous city of eternity. The evil existence in the city sensed the threat from the Renhuang divine weapon and reacted. After all, the Renhuang divine weapon was not a divine weapon of the great path. Otherwise, one Renhuang divine weapon would be enough to suppress the evil power in the ominous city of eternity. The old Daoist side dispatched two Renhuang divine weapons, ready to attack the city. In the ominous city of eternity, heavy footsteps were heard. The aura of death was constantly increasing, and groups of ancient corpse soldiers came out of nowhere. These were corpse soldiers known as indestructible. Even if these ancient corpse soldiers were blasted into pieces, they would reappear unless they were destroyed by a divine weapon of the great path. At this time, Ji Yufei retreated silently. A great battle was about to break out. This would be a disaster. The attack from the Renhuang divine weapon would probably impact the entire virtual sky world. This time, the Renhuang divine weapon's divine power was mighty, but Ghost Emperor Fengdu didn't appear. Those great figures seemed to be just guarding against a great turmoil in the cultivation world. As for whether these people would attack the ominous city of eternity or not, they didn't say anything. Go! Ancient half-holy of Nine Yin was the first to attack. The Renhuang seal directly flew out, emitting the terrifying divine power of the Renhuang divine weapon and smashed toward the ancient city in front of them. Rumble. As soon as the Renhuang seal moved, the whole world trembled, and pitch-black spatial cracks appeared in the void. The world and the void couldn't bear such a force. Buzz. When the Renhuang seal smashed down, the whole ancient city trembled fiercely, and a dull sound came from the void. At that moment, ancient Dao patterns emerged on the walls of the entire ancient city. Countless Dao patterns covered every corner of the ancient city. Boom! With a loud noise, the Renhuang seal, under the control of ancient half-holy of Nine Yin, smashed on the walls of the ancient city. The countless Tao patterns on the walls emitted a bright divine light. The whole ancient city shook violently. Countless ancient corpse soldiers on the walls were directly shaken away. Most of these ancient corpse soldiers turned into dust in the air. Although the ancient walls of the ominous city of eternity were protected by the Tao patterns, countless cracks appeared on the walls as if they were about to collapse. However, the ancient walls didn't collapse in the end. The power of the Tao patterns imprinted on the walls blocked the attack of the Renhuang seal. Everyone who witnessed this scene was dumbfounded. This ancient city could even block the attack of the Renhuang divine weapon. Could this ancient city really be a divine city refined by a supreme being? The immortal divine city seemed to be immortal. The countless cracks on the walls that were smashed by the Renhuang seal disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. This was an ancient city that could repair itself. This wasn't a good thing. The immortal divine city could repair itself, which increased the difficulty of breaking into the city. It didn't seem to be an easy task to break into this ancient city. Swoosh! Just as the Renhuang seal smashed countless cracks on the walls of the ancient city, the heavenly mirror in the sky finally woke up completely. It emitted a bright mirror light and pierced through the ominous city of eternity. Bang! The mirror light hit the ancient city wall, and as if it had turned into a tangible light beam, it directly punched a huge hole in the ancient city wall that was full of cracks. There's hope. The old Daoist's heart skipped a beat when he saw this scene. The attacks from the two Renhuang divine weapons could break through the ancient city, but no one was willing to be the first to enter the ancient city. One should know that the ancient city was definitely filled with unimaginable dangers. Otherwise, the sovereign divine treasures in the city would have been taken away long ago. Everyone was hesitating, including the old Daoist. Rumble, the ancient city shook. A terrifying evil aura surged out from the depths of the ancient city. The ancient city wall that was pierced by the heavenly mirror was rapidly repairing itself. Countless Tao patterns intertwined on the city wall. Very soon, the damaged ancient city wall was completely repaired, as if it had never been pierced. Roar! At this moment, a roar came from within the ancient city. A demonic figure stood up from the depths of the ancient city. It was a figure that was thousands of zhong tall. Countless black auras lingered around the figure. It was the death qi. The death qi in the ancient city was different from normal death qi. If an ordinary cultivator breathed in a wisp of this death qi, their body and soul would be destroyed. Ji Yufei couldn't help but be shocked when he saw this scene from afar. Bang! At this moment, the human emperor's seal smashed down from the sky. This attack was much stronger than the previous one. Under this attack, the void was directly destroyed, leaving nothing behind. The ancient city was shaking. Countless Tao patterns were collapsing. The human emperor's seal smashed down from the sky. A section of the ancient city wall collapsed. The human emperor's seal smashed a hole in the wall. Kill. The old Daoist took the lead and was the first to rush forward. He entered the ancient city through the hole in the wall. With the strength of an ancient quasi-saint, protecting himself in the ancient city was not a problem. As the old Daoist's figure disappeared from the ancient city, an extremely powerful fluctuation appeared in the ancient city. The old Daoist was making his move. The Zhu clan of the desolate antiquity also followed the old Daoist and rushed into the ancient city. A powerful saint-level aura exploded in the city. A great battle erupted in the city. Ancient corpse soldiers could be seen flying away from time to time. Chapter 1701. The awakening of the two supreme sovereign weapons caused the heavens to tremble. In the end, a gap was opened in the ancient city. The old Daoist from the Li clan of the desolate antiquity directly rushed into the ancient city and began to fight against the powerful evil beings. At this time, the ancient city was filled with a gloomy fog. Sounds of footsteps came from the depths of the city as groups of ancient corpse soldiers walked out with bronze spears in their hands. The aura of death was vast. These ancient corpse soldiers had fallen for countless years, but their bodies had not decayed. They were like ghost soldiers that had slaughtered their way out of hell. However, the evil energy of the ancient city was suppressed by the two supreme sovereign weapons. Although their power had decreased a lot, it was still not to be underestimated. These evil beings, the old Daoist's speed was very fast. He had already entered the central area of the ancient city. Countless ancient corpse soldiers were rushing towards him from the street ahead. As these ancient corpse soldiers walked, they set off a black mist that was condensed from the death energy on their bodies. This black mist rushed towards this end of the street. Could it be that something bad really happened to the legendary Supreme's corpse? The old Daoist had lived for countless years. He was a character from the late period of the desolate antiquity era. He could be considered a super antique and knew many secrets of the world. Legend had it that in the distant past, after a Supreme died in the Age of Legends, his corpse became immortal and even regained its consciousness, turning into a terrifying existence. Something happened to the Supreme's corpse, and it later became the legendary Lord of Hell. Of course, this was only an ancient legend. It was hard to say whether there was a place called Hell in this world, let alone the Lord of Hell who created it. However, this ancient legend was enough to prove that once something happened to the Supreme's corpse, something unimaginable and ominous would happen. The consequences were unpredictable. Who cares? Let's get the Supreme Divine Treasure first. The old Daoist came for the Supreme Divine Treasure. He had lived for a long time and had experienced several dark upheavals. There was nothing he hadn't seen before. In this world, there were not many things that could pique his interest. However, it was obvious that the Supreme Divine Treasure was enough to make an existence like him envious. The Supreme Divine Treasure was the most precious ancient scripture left behind by the Supreme. If one could obtain the ancient scripture left behind by a Supreme Being, that would be a great opportunity. The supreme cultivation method of a Supreme Being had a fatal attraction to every cultivator. Whoever could grasp the Sovereign's ancient scripture would be able to obtain the Sovereign's inheritance. With this inheritance, they would be able to establish a supersect. The primordial Li clan was known as the successor of the Supreme Daoist ancestor, which was already powerful enough. However, no one would complain about having too many supreme ancient scriptures. Roar! The old Daoist let out a furious roar. His eyes shone with a dazzling light. It was as if the sun, moon, and stars were descending in his eyes. An extremely powerful aura erupted from his body. Rumble! The space around the old Taoist was trembling. Countless divine patterns of the Great Path condensed in the space around him, triggering the power of the Great Path. At this moment, the old Taoist was like a supreme god, giving off a feeling of invincibility that looked down on the world. Buzz! The void trembled, and the old Taoist attacked right away. The countless patterns that appeared around him bloomed with dazzling divine light of the Great Path in an instant, turning into divine swords of the Great Path that pierced forward. This move alone was enough to prove that the old Taoist's celestial swordsmanship had reached perfection. With a thought, the divine patterns of the Great Path turned into divine swords. This was the legendary saying that having no sword was better than having a sword. Swoosh! At this moment, the ancient corpse soldiers at the front raised the bronze spears in their hands and stabbed forward. A terrifying power of death erupted in an instant. Every spear pierced through the space and collided with the countless divine swords of the Great Path that were flying towards them. On the dark street, specks of light blossomed like twinkling stars. The bronze spears of the ancient corpse soldiers collided with the countless divine swords of the Great Path, exploding with dazzling light. After all, the ancient corpse soldiers were not truly peerless cultivators. These ancient corpse soldiers could only block a portion of the divine swords of the Great Path. The divine swords that could not block the rest all pierced through the ancient corpse soldiers' bodies. However, when the divine patterns of the Great Path turned into sword light and pierced through the ancient corpse soldiers' bodies, the old Taoist's expression finally changed. He could sense that after each sword light pierced through the ancient corpse soldiers' bodies, the power of the Great Path contained within them instantly weakened by more than half. The sword light of the Great Path became dim and lightless. These ancient corpse soldiers all had a strange evil power that could corrode the power of the Great Path. The old Taoist's great sword technique of the Great Path could not destroy the evil power in the ancient corpse soldiers' bodies. Although the ancient corpse soldiers were pierced by the swords of the Great Path, they did not lose the ability to fight. The wounds on the ancient corpse soldiers' bodies were also healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Undying evil corpses. The old Taoist was extremely shocked. When the countless corpses in front of him were attacked by him, they only paused for a moment. Then, with the bronze spears in their hands, they once again pressed towards him. Damn it! The old Taoist was inexplicably shocked and angry. Without a doubt, something terrible and ominous had happened in this ancient city. The evil power in the city could make the ancient corpse soldiers immortal. This power could even weaken the power of the Great Path. It was no small matter. Seeing the ancient corpse soldiers approaching step by step with their bronze spears, the old Taoist suddenly took a deep breath. His belly slightly swelled up. Whoosh! The old Taoist suddenly blew forward. Boom! With a loud sound, a great fire spurted out from his mouth, immediately drowning the street in a sea of fire. The old Taoist was furious. He didn't hesitate to spurt out a mouthful of essence chi, which turned into a divine fire. He wanted to burn these ancient corpse soldiers to ashes. This was not an ordinary divine fire. It was the result of the old Taoist's essence chi and contained the power of his great path. One could faintly see Dao runes inside the divine fire. The fire soared to the sky and illuminated half of the ancient city. The yin mist in this area was burned by this divine fire and turned into a green smoke that dissipated into the void. The divine fire was the nemesis of the evil energy in the city. Although the countless ancient corpse soldiers in the sea of fire were still silently approaching the old Taoist, their battle robes were all burning. Soon, the ancient corpse soldiers in the sea of fire turned into piles of charcoal. Next to each pile of charcoal was a bronze spear. This, on the roof of a house 1,000 meters behind the old Daoist, Ji Yufei couldn't help but be shocked when he saw this scene. The old Daoist's divine flame was actually able to exterminate these corpse soldiers, which made him feel very surprised. Could it be that fire was really the bane of these evil beings? Chapter 1702. The old Daoist from the Li family of the desolate antiquity spat out a mouthful of essence energy that turned into a divine flame of the Great Path, burning all the ancient corpse soldiers on the street into charcoal. Text first. The power of the divine flame of the Great Path was too great. Even Ji Yufei was shocked by this scene from afar. The old Daoist was sacrificing his own essence energy to destroy these corpse soldiers. At this time, heavy footsteps came from the other end of the street. From the black mist, many figures walked out. In the depths of the ancient city, countless ancient corpse soldiers stood up. At this time, even the old Daoist couldn't help but change his expression. The dangers of the ancient city had exceeded his imagination. Countless ancient corpse soldiers appeared in front of him once again, pressing towards him with heavy footsteps. In the hands of each ancient corpse soldier was a bronze spear. The ancient spear was rusted and almost decayed, but the power of death surged on it. The ancient corpse soldiers had died countless years ago, so they carried a thick corpse aura. After being nourished by the evil power of the ancient city for countless years, these corpse soldiers were even more powerful to a frightening extent. Roar. At this time, a roar came from among the ancient corpse soldiers. A figure strode out from among them. It was a tall and strong general. A terrifying death power surged from the body of this general. His pitch-black armor was covered with slashes from swords, spears, and halberds. However, there was no spirit in the eyes of this general. Although this general was mighty, he had fallen for countless years. However, this general was different from ordinary ancient corpse soldiers. Although there was no spirit in his eyes, there was a divine thought coming from his head. This ancient corpse general had already developed a certain level of intelligence. It could be said that it had become an undead creature. Although such an existence was still under the control of the evil power of the ancient city, its movements were not as slow as ordinary ancient corpse soldiers. On a roof in the distance, Ji Yufei couldn't help but be surprised when he saw this ancient corpse general. This ancient corpse general's aura was somewhat similar to the corpse general that the old turtle had refined into an outer body incarnation. Another indestructible martial body? Ji Yufei was extremely shocked. There was a subtle feeling in his heart that the ancient corpse general on the street ahead seemed to have the same bloodline as him. Roar. The ancient corpse general walked out and roared towards the sky. The entire street trembled as yin energy surged. Just like when he was alive, he led a magnificent army to charge forward. Swoosh! The ancient corpse general took a step forward and instantly arrived in front of the old daoist. It directly punched the old daoist's chest. This was the simplest and most direct attack. Who? The ancient corpse general's fist created a strong wind. Wherever the fist passed, the void turned into nothingness. This was the most direct and powerful force that could shatter the void. The old daoist was startled. His long beard that was hanging in front of his chest rippled due to the impact of the airflow. The ancient corpse general's fist had not yet reached him, but he already felt a strong pressure, and his breathing became rapid. Swoosh! The old daoist's figure became blurry as he left behind an afterimage. His real body had already soared into the sky and arrived above the ancient corpse general. Annihilate the evil! The old daoist roared. Like a big bird, he directly swooped down from the sky. His right hand reached out and pressed down on the ancient corpse general's head. Boom! The ancient corpse general's body shook. Its feet directly stomped on the green bricks on the ground, and its feet sank into the ground. The old daoist's power caused its body to sink a bit. What? The old daoist was incomparably shocked. This evil being was ridiculously strong. He was a quasi-sage, and a single palm strike from him could even crush an ancient sacred mountain. However, this evil being only sank a little, as though it didn't receive much impact at all. This old guy is out of luck. Jiu Fei couldn't help but shake his head after seeing this scene from a distance. Trying to use force to suppress the indestructible martial physique would only cause an even more powerful counterattack from the indestructible martial physique. Bam! An extremely powerful force burst out from the ancient corpse general's body and directly knocked away the giant hand that was pressing down from the sky. Then, the ancient corpse general soared into the sky and fiercely pounced towards the old daoist. Its speed and ferocity shocked the old daoist. Even though the old daoist dodged, one of his sleeves was still torn off by the ancient corpse general. His arm was dripping with blood, and there were 5 finger marks. How dare you! The old daoist was furious. His eyes shone brightly as countless Dao runes condensed between his hands, turning into countless divine weapons of the great Dao that slashed towards the ancient corpse general. The power of the great Dao was mighty. The Dao runes transformed into divine swords, heavenly sabers, ancient bells, and so on. Each of these weapons displayed great power. However, a shocking scene appeared. Countless divine weapons of the great Dao slashed the ancient corpse general's body, and then they were all knocked away by the ancient corpse general. What? How is this possible? The old daoist was dumbfounded, completely dumbfounded. How could this evil being's body withstand the attacks of the divine weapons of the great Dao formed from Dao runes? However, the truth was right in front of his eyes. The other party really ignored his attacks. Such a powerful body was unbelievable. This body could actually withstand the attacks of an ancient quasi-saint. Even Jiu Fei was secretly shocked. The indestructible martial physique was indeed extremely powerful. Perhaps only divine weapons of the great Dao could injure it. Other divine weapons simply could not break the powerful defense of the indestructible martial physique. The indestructible martial physique was extremely powerful. It was obviously fighting based on its instincts. It directly rushed through the thousands of Dao soldiers and arrived in front of the old daoist. Bam! Another simple punch was thrown out. The entire heaven and earth collapsed along with the ancient corpse general's fist. The old daoist was directly knocked into the chaotic void. Many experts who were attacking the ancient city were shocked to the extreme when they saw this scene. That evil being was so powerful that even an ancient quasi-saint was not its opponent. This was not a good thing. The stronger the evil in the ancient city, the lower the chances of obtaining the supreme divine treasures. There was even the danger of dying in the ancient city. At this time, many experts had been stabbed to death by the ancient corpse soldiers with their bronze spears. Their blood essence was quickly absorbed by the ancient city and became a part of it. The divine light of magic treasures could be seen everywhere in the ancient city. The experts who were attacking the ancient city were gradually advancing towards the center of the ancient city. Although the ancient corpse soldiers were powerful, they couldn't stop the pace of a group of red-eyed experts, especially the ancient desolate forces. Among these forces, there was no lack of semi-saints, and many of them even brought divine tools. The power of the ancient ominous city was suppressed by the two human sovereign divine weapons above the ancient city. At this time, everyone's cultivation was not suppressed by the virtual sky world's law of heaven and earth. All the experts could attack with all their strength and display their strongest fighting strength. Fortunately, at this time, only one ancient corpse general had appeared. If another ancient corpse general appeared, then all the experts inside the ancient city would be in danger. After all, these ancient corpse generals all had the indestructible martial physique. Boom! The void collapsed. The old Daoist who was punched into the chaotic void by the indestructible martial physique corpse general broke the void and rushed out. Supreme Great Path, Heavenly Sword exterminates the devil. The old Daoist shouted. His hands formed a sword art and he was performing a killing technique of the Li family of the remote antiquity. Countless Dao patterns rushed out from his body, and a divine sword completely formed by interweaving Dao patterns appeared in his hand. Buzz! The divine sword vibrated as if it had a substantial body. A powerful sword aura of the Great Path spread out from this divine sword, making everyone's heart palpitate. Kill! The old Taoist's eyes widened in anger, and he slashed at the indestructible martial body corpse general with his sword. The divine sword of the Great Path condensed from the divine pattern of the Great Path shot out a beam of dazzling sword light and slashed forward. The indestructible martial body corpse general didn't seem to sense any danger as he continued to charge forward. However, a pair of huge hands pushed forward, causing a gust of wind to rise. The vast and mighty energy radiating from the huge hands was extremely powerful, as though it could destroy the heavens and earth. The sword light of the Great Path that the old Daoist struck out was incomparably sharp and could destroy everything in the world. Unfortunately, the old Daoist encountered the indestructible martial physique. Although the indestructible martial physique had died countless years ago, the indestructible martial physique still contained a shocking power within it. If someone could use the power within the indestructible martial physique, then this indestructible martial physique would become the most terrifying killer in the world. The indestructible martial physique punched again. This punch unexpectedly collided with the sword light of the Great Path that the old Daoist had struck out, emitting a metallic sound. There was no suspense. Even the powerful ancient quasi-saint was not strong enough in front of the indestructible martial physique corpse general. It was forced to retreat. Could this be? The old Daoist seemed to have thought of something. His face revealed an incomparably shocked expression. Even his voice was trembling. At this time, while the old Daoist was entangled by the indestructible martial physique corpse general, Ji Yufei directly walked towards the depths of the ancient city. From time to time, there would be immortal light and treasure light overflowing from the depths of the ancient city. The supreme divine treasure must be located there. And there were many people who had the same idea as Ji Yufei. Little kid, even you want to dip your fingers in the supreme divine treasure. An old man suddenly appeared, blocking Ji Yufei's path. At this time, the location of the supreme divine treasure was unknown, but some people in the city had already started a life-and-death battle. Ji Yufei stopped, but he didn't put this old man in his eyes. This old man was merely an immortal emperor. He could kill him with a flick of his finger. The one who wants your life. There was no longer any need to conceal the murderous intent on the old man's body. A heaven-shaking murderous intent spread out from his body, causing the people in the vicinity to feel as though they had fallen into an ice cave. See no ads, full text first novel, Text first novel, your best choice.